Chapter 1381. At this point Hu Quan paused for a moment then continued to speak. Lu Jie, it's more important for you to improve your strength at this age. You don't have to specially prepare food for me the next time you come. When you guys come, I'll eat some of your roasted meat to satisfy my craving. Otherwise, your cooking is so delicious and I can't control my appetite. If I eat too much and get sleepy, it will affect the construction of the underground palace. Lu Jie shook his head at Hu Quan's words. Uncle Hu, it's no trouble. I made these dishes when I returned to the manor to cook. It won't take up much time. Uncle Hu just said that double happiness is better than one happiness. Lu Jie knew that Hu Quan was afraid of wasting his time. Lu Jie was not a person who was good at expressing his feelings. He would not say anything nice to people close to him. They would only move silently. However, Lu Jie did not know that Hu Quan had already understood his intentions. Hu Quan hated eating pig liver the most, but he loved eating lamb offal, beef offal and the like. Normally no one in the manor liked to eat these things. It was obviously impossible for Lu Jie to say that he had done it in passing. Ji Feng had not seen Lin Yuan for some time. Back at the return from faraway mansion, Ji Feng had not had the time to talk to Lin Yuan because he had been in a hurry to set off. A week ago, Ji Feng's Karma Sword Orchid had predicted that the Mother of Bloodbath had an ominous sign. Before Ji Feng could call and tell Lin Yuan, the Karma Sword Orchid predicted that the Mother of Bloodbath would turn misfortune into fortune. Turning misfortunes into blessings was the most wonderful omen. Evil in front, good in the back. Once the misfortune didn't happen, there wouldn't be any good fortune after that. It was precisely because of this that Ji Feng didn't tell Lin Yuan about his prediction. He was afraid that the Mother of Bloodbath would miss the opportunity to avoid the ominous omen. In addition to the Mother of Bloodbath's prediction, Ji Feng's Karma Gladiolus had also predicted that something big would happen to Lin Yuan. This matter was so grave that even with Ji Feng's Karma Sword Orchid's strength, he was no longer able to determine whether it was good or bad. This made Ji Feng worry about Lin Yuan. However, Ji Feng was afraid that he would tell Lin Yuan about this prediction that he could not distinguish between good and bad. This would make him hesitate about the path he was going to take next. After some consideration, Ji Feng finally decided to tell Lin Yuan about this matter. This matter was so big that it was impossible to tell if it was good or bad. If it was good, then everything would be fine. However, if it was the culprit, this matter might very well threaten his life. Therefore Ji Feng couldn't care less. Ji Feng called Lin Yuan to the side and softly told him about the prediction. Upon hearing Ji Feng's words, Lin Yuan's pupils contracted. However, Lin Yuan's face did not reveal a worried or fearful expression. Lin Yuan was no longer the sickly person he had been in the Xia region. He was now confident that he could face any challenge. Even if he encountered real danger, he would not lack helpers. Currently, Lin Yuan's strongest helper was Bai Yan, who had returned to the swamp world to guard the territory. After the battle with the shark ray, Lin Yuan confirmed that Bai Yan had the strongest combat power under the Eternal Realm with his amplification. On the sea, Bai Yan could subdue the Sea Emperor at the peak of Immortal Realm with the Immortal body. Ordinary peak Immortal Realm spirit beasts couldn't have such power. Apart from Bai Yan, Lin Yuan also brought the extreme token that his master, the Moon Empress, had prepared for him. These were Lin Yuan's guarantees. As the saying goes, counter soldiers with arms and water with earth. Lin Yuan was confident that he could face any challenge. Regardless of whether it was good or bad, Lin Yuan had to walk the path ahead steadily. Looking at Lin Yuan's expression, Ji Feng knew that Lin Yuan wasn't worried or hesitant because of his prediction. Only then did Ji Feng feel relieved. At that moment, Lin Yuan was prepared to go outside the underground palace and take a look. He wanted to see what extent the sea of white bone lotuses that Silver Essence had nurtured had reached. As soon as he left the underground palace, Lin Yuan immediately received the surprise that Silver Essence brought. When Lin Yuan left, the sea of white bone lotuses was only the size of a football field. Now the sea of white bone lotuses was at least 10 times larger than before. The sea of flowers spread toward the Iron Hammer Federation's border according to Lin Yuan's previous plan. The Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift that Lin Yuan had opened through the space-shattering stone cave was still constantly dropping alien insects. However, when these alien insects fell into the sea of white bone lotuses, they simply couldn't cause any waves. They were completely devoured by those agile and cruel white bone lotuses. At that moment, Lin Yuan saw the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift suddenly spit out a green chubby alien insect. Lin Yuan actually recognized this alien insect. It was called the acid corrosion tapeworm. The acid corrosion tapeworm relied on the acid in its abdomen to fight against enemies, and it was considered a Class 3 alien insect with a relatively weak defense. However, no matter how weak the acid corrosion tapeworm's defense was, it was still a Class 3 alien insect. In the sea of white bone lotuses, before the acid corrosion tapeworm could struggle, a large number of insect patterns turned into bone insects that crawled all over its body. These bone insects easily bit through the acid corrosion tapeworm's skin and burrowed into its body. The acid corrosion tapeworm immediately hissed in pain. A large amount of acid gushed out of the acid corrosion tapeworm's body, corroding most of the nearby white bone lotuses. At that moment, a shadow holding a white bone scythe suddenly appeared beside the acid corrosion tapeworm. This shadow waved the white bone scythe in its hand and ruthlessly slashed at the acid corrosion tapeworm's body like a ghost. With just one strike, a large wound that was about 1 meter long appeared on the acid corrosion tapeworm's back. The 1 meter long wound on the acid corrosion sackworm's body that was cut by the white bone scythe instantly spurted out green acid. Before the acid could land on the shadow holding the white bone scythe, the shadow silently melted into the white fog. Just as the acid corrosion tapeworm's 2 bean-sized eyes were wondering why the enemy had suddenly disappeared, the shadow holding the white bone scythe reappeared above the acid corrosion tapeworm's head. The shadow held the white bone scythe and slashed down, and the half-meter-long scythe blade pierced into the insect's brain. It instantly took the acid corrosion tapeworm's life. Upon seeing the shadow holding the white bone scythe, Lin Yuan immediately thought that this should be Silver Splendor's exclusive skill, Hidden Dead Servant. It had been born when the Sea of Flowers was slaughtering a large number of alien insects. When Lin Yuan had left, Silver Splendor had only been a Bronze 3/Elite fairy. In just 5 days, Silver Splendor had evolved from Bronze 3/Elite to Bronze 6/Flawless. Such an improvement speed was enough to show that Silver Splendor was still a Carcinoma Fae that was adept at expansion and destruction. The Hidden Dead Servant was an existence that would become stronger the more souls it devoured. This was obviously not the Hidden Dead Servant's strongest state. However, the Hidden Dead Servant was already able to kill Class 3 alien insects when Silver Splendor was at Bronze. It was hard for Lin Yuan to imagine how terrifying the Hidden Dead Servant would become after absorbing a large number of souls. It was hard for Lin Yuan to imagine how terrifying the Hidden Dead Servant would become after absorbing a large number of souls in the bone powder fog. Chapter 1382. Moreover, Silver Flower's exclusive skill could not only produce 1 Hermit Dead Servant, but 36 of them. These Hermit Undead Servants could hide themselves or suddenly materialize themselves in the white bone mist. They were like invisible assassins hidden in the mist. When Lin Yuan had left, the white bone lotus flower mist had drifted above the sea of white bone lotus flowers. It could not completely block Lin Yuan's vision. But now there was a faint layer of gray fog hidden within the white bone fog. This gray mist should be the hermit mist that was born after the Hermit Dead Servants appeared. When the 36 Hermit Dead Servants were born from the sea of white bone lotus flowers, Silver Flower could easily kill the 100-man team that infiltrated the forbidden area. Without using the white bone lotus flowers, Silver Flower could easily kill the 100-man team that infiltrated the forbidden area. Silver Flower had discovered Lin Yuan's existence when he had walked out of the underground palace. She had deliberately sent the Hermit Dead Servants to kill the acid corrosion tapeworms. She had not seen Lin Yuan for a few days and missed him very much. Therefore Yin Hua had shown him her growth over the past few days as soon as they met. Lu Jie and Ji Feng had also walked out of the underground palace. Lu Jie looked at the white bone lotus flower situation and then at the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift before suggesting to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, Silver Flower's grade is not high now. However, a Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift will no longer give Silver Splendor any pressure. Given the Sea of Flowers' current area, even if a few more Class 1 dimensional rifts are opened, the Silver Splendor will be able to handle it. Lin Yuan looked at Silver Flower, who had landed on his shoulder and was rubbing her face against his neck. Lin Yuan touched Silver Flower's silver hair, held her in his palm and asked Silver Flower. Silver Flower, if I open another dimensional rift like this, Can you handle 2 of them? Yin Hua replied to Lin Yuan confidently. Lin Yuan, including this, even if you open another 3-dimensional rifts of similar size, I will still be able to withstand it. Recently, I have focused on letting 2,000 white bone lotus flowers absorb the vitality of these dimensional life forms. These 2,000 white bone lotus flowers have absorbed more than 50% of the vitality of the entire sea of flowers, making them abnormally tough and strong. After testing, these bone lotuses that I specially cultivated can already hold Class 3 alien insects in place. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan gently shook his head. The next time he opened another dimensional rift, he could not guarantee that it would be an alien insect dimensional rift. Be it the swamp dimensional rift, the underground dimensional rift, or the abyss dimensional rift, secondary dimensional lifeforms' average individual strength was higher than the alien insect dimensional rift. However, Lin Yuan did not discourage Silverflower. Silverflower, who had transformed from a plant-type carcinoma Fey into a demon-type source-type lifeform, needed to grow and expand her knowledge. Lin Yuan stepped into the sea of flowers. After Lin Yuan stepped into the sea of flowers, these bone lotus flowers did not attack him. Instead, they gently swayed beside him. It was as if they were welcoming their master into a paradise made of white bones. Lin Yuan found a location far away from the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. He took out the void-shattering rock and planned to tear open another Class 1 dimensional rift. Under Lin Yuan's control, the Class 1 dimensional rift opened up. This time Lin Yuan had used the void-shattering rock to open an underground dimensional rift. Just as a large number of crypt lifeforms surged out, they were immediately entangled, sucked, and torn into pieces by the bone lotus flowers. Soon, the first Class 3 underground dimensional lifeform emerged from the Class 1 underground dimensional rift. It was a gargoyle. When the gargoyle emerged from the underground dimensional rift, it saw that the bone lotus flowers were preparing to entangle it and quickly flew into the sky. However, no matter how high the gargoyle flew, it was still within the range of the bone mist. Silverflower looked at this Class 3 gargoyle, and her eyes flashed with a silver radiance. Immediately after, the bone mist started to flow. The moment the bone mist flowed, the greenish-gray gargoyle's body turned white. At that moment, this Class 3 gargoyle was covered in bone worms. These bone worms used their sharp mouthparts to tear at the gargoyle's skin. No matter how hard the gargoyle flapped its wings, it was unable to successfully shake off these bone worms that were already nailed to its body. As long as the gargoyle was not stupid, it would not dare to land on the ground and use its wings to beat the ground. It would even use its body to smash against the rocks to kill the bone worms on its body. Right now, the ground was filled with bone lotus flowers that were eyeing the gargoyle covetously. Once the Class 3 gargoyle landed on the ground, it would be entangled by these bone lotus flowers that were specially enhanced by Silverflower, and it would no longer be able to fly. Finally, under Lin Yuan's watchful eyes, this Class 3 gargoyle was forcefully gnawed into pieces by the bone worms. Only the hard gargoyle's heart was left in the sea of bone lotus flowers. This gargoyle's heart was quickly transported by Yin Hua's bone lotus flowers to the place where Yin Hua specially hid her treasures. Since Yin Hua was able to deal with dimensional lifeforms with high defense like the gargoyle, even if she opened up the abyss dimensional rift and the horn demon, which had the strongest single combat strength among Class 3 dimensional lifeforms, came out, with a certain amount of bone lotus flowers, Yin Hua would be able to exhaust the horn demon to death. Lin Yuan decided to respect Yin Hua's words and used the void-shattering rocks to open up 2 more Class 1 dimensional rifts in the sea of bone lotus flowers. As a result, one of the 2 Class 1 dimensional rifts was a swamp dimensional rift, while the other was an abyss dimensional rift. The 4-dimensional rifts that had opened up on land were all gathered in the sea of bone lotus flowers. Yin Hua no longer had the energy to continue acting like a spoiled child in front of Lin Yuan when facing the alien beast tide that gushed out from the 4 Class 1-dimensional rifts. Yin Hua arrived at the center of the sea of bone lotus flowers and tried her best to control the bone lotus flowers to wear down the dimensional lifeforms that gushed out from the 4-dimensional rifts. Whenever a Class 3-dimensional lifeform gushed out from a Class 1-dimensional rift, Yin Hua would immediately arrange for her hermit undead servants to harvest it. She was afraid that Yin Hua wouldn't be able to deal with multiple Class 3-dimensional lifeforms at once. Lu Jie asked the insect queen to produce 2 diamond X flesh-mincing blade insects to take care of Yin Hua in the Sea of Flowers. As Lu Jie had previously seen Yin Hua's Sea of Bone Lotus Flowers, he was surprised by the speed of the Sea of Bone Lotus Flowers development. However, it wasn't that shocking. Ji Feng, who had followed Lin Yuan to the Divine Wood Federation for the first time, was completely stunned by the scene before him. As the young family head of the Whale Ocean Trade's Ocean Sky lineage, Ji Feng was experienced and knowledgeable. However, he had never seen a tumor fae that lived purely on slaughter transform into a fairy source-type life form. Furthermore, this fairy that wasn't even at the silver grade was a 6-winged fairy. Ji Feng had been on the run for 10 years. At this moment he suddenly suspected that the current Fey world was no longer the Fey world that he had known 10 years ago. Chapter 1384. Ji Feng and Lu Jie naturally had no objections to Lin Yuan's words. They had come to the Divine Wood Federation to protect Lin Yuan. In the Divine Wood Federation no one knew him. He did not need to hide his identity at all. Lin Yuan waved his hand and summoned Blackie, which was rarely summoned in front of outsiders in the Radiance Federation. After Blackie was summoned, it happily circled a few times in the air. Then he landed beside Lin Yuan and said in a gentle voice, "You're right. Lin Yuan, you became smaller again." Lin Yuan looked at Blackie helplessly. In any case, every time he encountered Blackie he would always be told that it had become smaller. After some time Lin Yuan had gotten used to it. The diamond/fantasy breed Blackie was nearly 100 meters long, even though it was a support-type Fae. However, Blackie's pure-blooded flood dragon species Fae's aura made the other Faes in this forest shrink their necks in fear. Who would have thought that the dragon eye spirit siphon goldfish that only knew how to spit bubbles in the pond? It was a spirit-tied dark flood dragon that could transform into a pure-blooded WM species Fae. Lu Jie and Ji Feng were no strangers to Blackie, who had been chasing after the rainbow celestial fish in the hidden dragon lake all day long. The duo followed Lin Yuan and rode on Blackie's back as they headed for Nammu City. When Lu Jie was with Lin Yuan he always took the initiative to undertake the investigation. Lu Jie, who had just sat on Little Black's back, summoned the Insect Queen. Then he ordered the Insect Queen to release the Dimensional Light Moth. The Insect Queen entered the Dimensional Light Moth's body and created a large number of Hurricane Owlet Moths. The Insect Queen could now skillfully control the inscription and absorb the insect species Fae's genetic model. This time, the Insect Queen had spawned nearly 100 Hurricane Owlet Moths, all of which had large wings. Wings that were twice the size of normal ones allowed the Hurricane Owlet Moth to fly faster. After these Dimensional Light Moths were created by the Insect Queen, Lu Jie did not let them fly away immediately. Instead he took out a handful of red tentacles and gave them to each Hurricane Owlet Moth. These tentacles were the node tentacles shed by the ethereal jellyfish. Lin Yuan had given these node tentacles to Lu Jie a long time ago. It was impossible for him to spend a lot of time traveling in the Divine Wood Federation. Even though Blackie was a diamond/fantasy breed Fae and had an extremely fast flying speed, it was still unable to catch up to Blackie. Therefore, the Underground Palace, Nammu City, and Oak City were the areas that he would be going back and forth between in the future. It was necessary to set up the node tentacles. Lu Jie had ordered the Insect Queen to produce nearly 100 Hurricane Owlet Moths in one go, which consumed a lot of his spiritual energy. At this moment, Lu Jie's face had already turned slightly pale. The Hurricane Owlet Moth was the Insect Queen's platinum skill. The consumption of the Insect Queen to produce the Hurricane Owlet Moths was more than 10 times that of producing a flesh-mincing blade insect. Without needing Lu Jie to say anything, Blackie, who was happily flying in the sky, had already thoughtfully used spirit injection on Lu Jie. After injecting spiritual energy into his body, Lu Jie quickly recovered the spiritual energy that he had just consumed. Through his spiritual energy connection with Blackie, Lin Yuan could feel its excitement and happiness. When Little Black was in the Return from Faraway Manor, its range of activity was limited to the Hidden Dragon Lake. No matter how beautiful the Hidden Dragon Lake was, it still couldn't compare to nature. He reached out and gently stroked Blackie's mane. He suddenly recalled that it had been a long time since he had relied on Faes to fight. In the world of Beastmasters, controlling Faes was the foundation of everything. He wanted to find the long-lost feeling of being a beast tamer in the Divine Wood Federation. At that moment Lin Yuan, who was on Little Black's back, had already seen the town that Lu Jie had previously explored. Looking down at this town, Lin Yuan felt that it was more like a town. It was not that this was a slightly larger village. In Redbud City, the Xia region was considered a relatively small county. The Millstone Town at the edge of Ascending Dragon City was the place with the worst infrastructure in the Radiance Federation. However, be it the Xia region or Millstone Town, they were much stronger than this town. When Lin Yuan had talked to Luoya in the Dry Cliff Bandits, he had asked her a lot of questions. In the Divine Wood Federation, flying fays could fly directly above cities. Of course, there was a considerable risk in riding a flying-type fae to fly above the city. If someone in the city who was stronger than you found you an eyesore and attacked you, you wouldn't be able to escape. In that case, they could only rely on their own abilities. In this small town, naturally no one was a match for Little Black. Lin Yuan rode on Little Black and flew above the town. When the 100-meter-long Little Black passed by the town, it let out a dragon roar. The dragon roar was loud and dignified. Little Black's dragon roar attracted the attention of almost everyone in the town. What surprised Lin Yuan was that these spirit chi professionals and ordinary people wearing spirit chi clothes woven with leaves or rattan armor didn't show intense fear when they saw Little Black. After confirming that Little Black didn't have any intention to attack, these people put their palms together and prayed. Some took out their cell phones and wanted to take a video of Little Black. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. From this point, it could be seen that the people in the town had never seen such a mighty and handsome dragon species fae like Little Black before. When encountering a powerful fae, an ordinary person's subconscious reaction would be to avoid danger. However, the spirit chi professionals living in this town didn't do so. This was enough to show that the Divine Wood Federation's spirit chi professionals were very strong or ignorant. In such a small town, there definitely wouldn't be a Class 1 creation master. At most, there would be 1 or 2 healers who could treat injuries. This town's knowledge reserve was at an extremely low level. Using this town as an example, it was enough to see the gap between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. The main reason for the gap was that the Freedom Federation wanted to bet a Class 5 Creation Master path with the Radiance Federation on Star Web. Every citizen of the Radiance Federation could freely log on to Star Web through the Star Web card. Star Web allowed any Radiance citizen to have a clear understanding of the outside world. Books below Class 3 Lifestyle Class Spirit Chi professionals could be traded on Star Web with Federation dollars. This allowed the Radiance Federation's citizens' knowledge reserve to be in a very high state. The combination of Star Web and Ostrich logistics allowed goods produced anywhere in the Radiance continent. They could reach the hands of the Radiance Federation's citizens within 3 hours. Star Web allowed the Radiance Federation to maintain a highly modern civilization in the Spirit Chi Awakening era. Now, this town in the Divine Wood Federation made Lin Yuan understand what kind of life was the normal life of the people in the Radiance Federation's outer world. In the Radiance Federation, because of Star Web, if someone took out a fae that wasn't produced in the Radiance Federation, it would be easily recognized by the Radiance Federation's creation masters. End of this chapter. Chapter 1385. However, the Divine Wood Federation's creation masters obviously couldn't do this. Due to the lack of knowledge in front of the Divine Wood Federation's creation masters, the Divine Wood Federation's creation masters wouldn't be able to defeat them. The Divine Wood Federation's creation masters wouldn't be surprised if they took out any fays. Lin Yuan was on Black's back, enjoying the cool breeze as he looked down at the vast forest below. In this federation where strength is everything, the strong are as noble as gods and the weak are as lowly as ants. Everyone has to follow the most primitive law of the jungle, and I, an outsider, am no exception. Here, fists were reason, and reasoning with words could only be regarded as a joke. Lu Jie knew that Lin Yuan was going to Namma City to find Luoya to trade for the walnut tree. However, from the first time he saw Luoya and saw the way she stared at him, he could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. Lu Jie couldn't help but be wary of Luoya. When Luoya looked at him, her eyes seemed to have several sharp hooks. These sharp hooks wanted to hook him and drag him into a fallen world. Lin Yuan was only 18 years old and didn't know much about the matters between men and women. As Lin Yuan's retainer knight, he would never allow a woman like Luoya to sully Lin Yuan. Lu Jie decided that he would follow Lin Yuan wherever he went in Namma City. He could not give Luo Ye and Lin Yuan a chance to be alone. Xiao He had already been flying for a few hours, and it wouldn't take long for him to reach Nanmu City. He took out his cell phone, found the note that Luo Ye had handed him and dialed her number. In a large mansion in the southern part of Nanmu City, a short-haired middle-aged man was looking at a woman who was holding a phone in her hand with a displeased expression. She had a despondent look on her face. Seeing that the woman didn't listen to his words at all, the short-haired man fiercely put down the 2 red jade-like walnuts in his hand and said, "Xiaoya, are you even listening to me? The Huang family has already sent people to visit you several times. You were young and liked to play, so I can follow you. Now you're old enough to talk about marriage. The Huang family is the same as our Luo family, a 2-star family. Huang Yu is the son of the Huang family's patriarch Huang Zhan. Other than Huang Yu, there are no other males in the Huang family. You will marry into the Huang family. When Huang Yu takes over Huang Zhan's position, you will be the matriarch of the Huang family. Father isn't forcing you to marry Huang Yu. It's not like you have to marry the Huang clan. But Huang Yu has always liked you. You should try getting along with Huang Yu first. After we get to know each other, if you really don't like me, you can tell me. I can help you reject the marriage." This wasn't the first time he talked about marriage with Roya. It was just that Roya rejected him previously because she hadn't had enough fun and didn't want to stop so early. The people of the Divine Wood Federation were open, and Luo Ye felt that there was nothing shameful about what she had done before. But after getting married, he could no longer indulge himself like before. But now it was no longer because she hadn't had enough fun. A few days ago, Luo Ye had already calmed down. Luo Ye's mind was now filled with only Lin Yuan. After seeing how outstanding that person was, Luo Ye didn't even put Huang Yu in her eyes, not to mention marrying him. Seeing how her father was earnestly persuading her, Luo Ye placed the phone on the table and said, "Father, you have been recommending those 3 clans to me for so many years. Father, you have been recommending those 3 clans to me for so many years because our Luo clan's overall strength is the weakest among the 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans in Nanmu City. But our Luo family is a Class 2 Creation Master clan. So what if our Luo family doesn't get married to one of the 3 clans?" Roya let out a sigh in response. Luo Ye was still too young and couldn't think of the crux. Right now, Nanmu City had 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans and 1 Class 3 Creation Master clan. Right now, the Class 3 Creation Master clan, the Zhang family, was showing signs of wanting to integrate Nanmu City's Creation Master resources. Not long ago, the Zhang family even released the news that their patriarch had been promoted from a mid-class Class 3 Creation Master to an advanced Class 3 Creation Master. It was obvious that the Zhang family wanted to put pressure on the 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans. Among the 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans, only the Huang family and the Zhang family were related by marriage. The Zhang family's matriarch was the younger sister of the Huang family's patriarch. If Luo Ye could get married to Huang Yu, the Luo family would be using the Huang family to climb up to the Zhang family. The Luo family's strongest fae was a Platinum 3/Flawless Poison Dust Moth. However, the Zhang family patriarch had a Platinum X/Fantasy Breed Corrosive Venomous Snake Flood Dragon. The Luo family didn't have the strength to go against the Zhang family. Roya had always doted on Luo Ye. Roya didn't want to force Luo Ye on matters of the heart and sacrifice her happiness. Just as Roya was about to persuade Luo Ye, she picked up the phone on the table again. She said to Roya seriously, "Father, I already have someone I like." "Father, I already have someone I like." Upon hearing this, Rode knitted his brows immediately. However, Roya didn't get angry at Luo Ye and asked patiently, "Little Ye, don't tell me the person you like is a member of the bandits that you invested in previously?" Hearing this, Roha remembered the rough men in the Withered Cliff bandits who never bathed. She nearly retched. Seeing her disgusted expression, Roya knew that Luo Ye didn't like the members of the Dry Cliff bandits. If it wasn't someone from the Dry Cliff bandits, who else could it be? Could it be that Xiaoya was playing around with some guy and suddenly developed feelings for him? Roya decided to quickly cut off Luo Ye's thoughts. He wanted to let Luo Ye think about Huang Yu in peace. "Little Ye is the man you like in Nanmu City now? If he is, ask him to come home and let me see him." Luo Ye didn't know what Roya was thinking. But when he mentioned Lin Yuan's whereabouts, Luo Ye felt aggrieved. "I also want to know where Lin Yuan is." But it had been almost 9 days and the phone still didn't ring. Just as Luoya was in despair, her phone suddenly rang. When Luoya heard the ringtone of her phone, her eyes suddenly lit up, revealing a ray of hope. Luoya turned on her phone excitedly and found that it was indeed Lin Yuan's call. Luoya nervously grabbed the armrest of the recliner and carefully cleared her throat before picking up the phone. As soon as the call was connected, Luoya wanted to be more ladylike and wait for Lin Yuan to speak first. But for some reason Luoya couldn't control herself after picking up the phone and said to Lin Yuan first. "Have you been busy for the past 2 days? I haven't seen you call me. When are you free to come to Nanmu City? I'll bring you around. There are a few small shops in Nanmu City that I've eaten in since I was young. They taste really good. Do some research and have a small explosion at the end of the month. I hope everyone can support me." End of this chapter. Chapter 1386. When Lin Yuan heard Luoya's words, he calculated the time and said, "I should be able to reach Nanmu City in an hour." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Luoya stood up from the recliner excitedly. "Then I will pick you up at the gate of Nanmu City." Luoya's voice couldn't help but pause awkwardly. It would take at least 1.5 hours to reach the gate of Nanmu City by riding the mist anti-poison moth. However, Lin Yuan would reach Nanmu City in an hour. She couldn't let Lin Yuan wait for her at the gate of Nanmu City. Thus Luoya changed the topic. "How about this? I will wait for you at the largest Nanmu Square in Nanmu City. It happens to be closer to my home. I have prepared 2 walnut trees for you. If it isn't enough, I can go home and get more for you." After Luoya finished talking with Lin Yuan, she hung up the phone. Luoya noticed that her father, Rode, was looking at her with a complicated expression. Rode's heart was in a dilemma. Rode had never seen Luoya so concerned about someone before. Rode noticed that Luoya's eyes were shining when she was on the phone. The light in her eyes couldn't lie. Luoya was so concerned about her sweetheart, so how could she be willing to contact Huang Yu? For a moment Rode felt that things were a little difficult. Although he could secretly kill the person Luoya liked. But if he really killed this person, Luoya was likely to think that he was the one who secretly killed him. Moreover, the walnut trees had always been a precious resource of his family. The 20 or so walnut trees at home were all precious treasures. Just the walnuts that were produced every year could be sold for a lot of money. When Luoya asked him for the walnut trees, Rode was a little relieved. He thought that Luoya wanted to practice cultivating high-quality walnuts. Now it seemed that he was thinking too much. Luoya wanted to give the walnut trees as a gift to the person she liked. It was said that daughters would always help outsiders, and now Rode finally understood. Rode stood up and said sternly to Roya upon seeing that she was about to rush out of the door. "Wait, don't be in a hurry. It's reasonable for your little boyfriend to do that. I should meet him too. I will go to Nanmu Square with you." When Luoya heard Rode say that she was going to see her boyfriend, her face immediately showed a sad look. Boyfriend? In Lin Yuan's eyes, he might just be a passerby who knew him. Coincidentally, Lin Yuan had to go to Nanmu City to handle some matters. Due to the previous agreement, he had to give her a call. However, Luoya didn't object to Rode accompanying her to meet Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's excellence could be seen at a glance. When he saw Lin Yuan, no matter what, his father would not force him to come into contact with Huang Yu again. This time Rode wanted to go with Luoya because he wanted to intimidate her boyfriend. He wanted to let Luoya's boyfriend know how big the gap between him and Luoya was. Young man, don't always be a toad lusting after a swan. It wasn't that easy to be the son-in-law of a Class 2 Creation Master clan. Therefore he summoned his main fae, the Platinum 3/Flawless Poison Dust Moth. As for why Rode summoned the poison dust moths, Roha was puzzled. She didn't know why her father was so serious. He had even summoned his strongest fae, the poison dust moth. However, Luoya was very happy with Rode's behavior. If she rode the platinum poison dust moth to fetch Lin Yuan, at least she wouldn't look too shabby in front of Lin Yuan and lose face. Luoya hugged Rode happily and said, "Thank you, father." "Thank you, father." Rode and Luoya were both calculating in their hearts. On the surface, Rode and Luoya were on the back of the poison dust moth and headed for the Nanmu Plaza. In Nanmu City, Rode and Luoya were famous people. Nanmu City wasn't a big city in the Divine Wood Federation. It was just a city built with a Class 3 Creation Master clan as the core. Apart from the Class 3 Creation Master Zhang clan, Road was the head of a Class 2 Creation Master clan. It could be said that he was one of the most respected people in Nammu City. On the back of the Platinum Poison Dust Moth, Road and Luoya received the respect of the Spirit Chi professionals and ordinary people along the way. At that moment, Luoya was holding a mirror and carefully examining her haggard face because she hadn't eaten or rested well for 9 days. The more she looked at her haggard appearance in the mirror, the more uneasy she felt. She was afraid that her haggard appearance would lower Lin Yuan's favorable impression of her. At that moment, Luoya couldn't be bothered that her father, Road, was beside her. She took out her most precious cosmetic powder from her walnut. She wiped it on her face. This cosmetic powder was a mixture of crushed amber, water-type pearl powder, wanyan flower juice, lotus heart dew and gold fei oil. In terms of the production process, only Class 3 Creation Masters were able to use it. In a place like Nammu City, this was the highest grade of cosmetic powder. The Zhang family's auction would only auction a bottle of this grade of cosmetic powder every month. Once it was auctioned, it would be desperately fought over by the various matriarchs and young ladies in Nammu City. In order to obtain this cosmetic powder, Luoya had spent a considerable amount of deep Sanskrit dollars. Now that she thought about the expenditure of deep Sanskrit dollars, she still felt a little heartache. But now this cosmetic powder came in handy, allowing Luoya to meet Lin Yuan with her best appearance. Luoya felt that the previous expenditure was simply worth it. Luoya applied the cosmetic powder, drew on her eyebrows and tidied up her purple fur coat. Road, who was watching from the side, was dumbfounded. Road had always been very concerned about his only daughter, Luoya. Before Luoya had left Nammu City to train a few years ago, Luoya had always been by Road's side. In Road's impression, when his family held a gathering, the Zhang family's bigwigs would be present. Luoya had never dressed up so meticulously. As a father, he had to make some choices for the family. In the end, he couldn't help but feel sorry for his daughter. Road couldn't help but hesitate in his heart. He was going to meet Luoya's sweetheart in a while. Should he secretly send someone to make a move on Luoya's sweetheart? Just as Luoya was done with her makeup and was looking at her rather delicate and pretty face in the mirror with satisfaction, a very loud but somewhat cocky voice came from behind Luoya. "Ah yeah, Uncle Luo. Where are you going?" "I saw Uncle Luo's poison dust moths from afar. I desperately consumed spirit chi so that my stinger wasps could catch up." Hearing the voice coming from behind, Luoya frowned. However, his furrowed brows smoothed out in an instant. Road immediately ordered the poison dust moths to stop in midair and no longer advance. Chapter 1387. Then Road patted Luoya's shoulder and she reluctantly turned around with Road. Luoya saw a yellow-clothed youth standing on the back of a huge brown wasp. This youth wasn't ugly, but he had big and small eyes. One big and one small eyes made the yellow-clothed youth's eyes look wretched and lifeless. In terms of figure, the yellow-clothed youth wasn't bad. He was tall and strong. It was a pity that Luoya was obsessed with appearances. To Luoya, an ugly face was an original sin. Luoya's heart was filled with Lin Yuan and couldn't even be bothered to look at Huang Yu. At that moment, Huang Yu was smiling and wanted to greet Luoya. However, she didn't know that Luoya was already gritting her teeth and blaming herself for wasting the time to go to the Nammu Plaza. Seeing that Luoya didn't want to talk to Huang Yu at all, Road couldn't help but feel a little awkward. Road asked Huang Yu, "Little Yu is getting stronger. Little Yu is getting stronger and stronger. I haven't seen you for more than 2 months and your main fei, the stinger wasp, has been upgraded to gold X/flawless." While speaking, Road was very surprised by the increase in strength of Huang Yu's main fei, the needle wasp. Huang Yu's strength increased so quickly. The Huang family had really invested a lot in Huang Yu. When Huang Yu's creation master strength reached class 2, she could take over the Huang family head's position at any time. Huang Yu had always been in love with Luoya, but Luoya had never been interested in Huang Yu. Road was really afraid that Huang Yu would be tired of Luoya's attitude. Hence, she chose to marry the young ladies of the Meng and Li families. When Huang Yu heard Road's praise, she said rather proudly, "This is all thanks to Aunt. This is all thanks to Aunt. She asked Uncle to help me raise the rank and quality of the stinger wasps. If it wasn't for Uncle's process of enhancing the needle wasp, The needle wasp's bloodline showed signs of mutation. The needle wasp that Uncle Luo is seeing now should be at platinum. Upon hearing Huang Yu's words, Rhode's heart shook. It turned out that the Zhang family head had helped Huang Yu enhance her fae. Huang Yu's aunt married into the Zhang family and was the Zhang family's matriarch. Only Huang Yu's aunt would be able to persuade the Zhang family head to help a junior raise the strength of a fae. This was the benefit of a marriage alliance. If Luo Ye and Huang Yu got married, the Luo family could use Huang Yu's relationship to become the Zhang family's distant in-laws. Out of respect for Huang Yu, the Luo family might be able to receive the Zhang family's favor. She watched as her father and Huang Yu chatted for almost 10 minutes without any intention of leaving. Luo Ye's heart became more and more frenzied. Luo Ye, who couldn't bear it anymore, said to Huang Yu, "Huang Yu, we need to go to Nanmu Plaza. It's urgent, so we'll be leaving first." With that said, Roha reached out and hooked her arm around his. He signaled Rode to let the poison dust moths fly towards the Nanmu square. Huang Yu was already used to Luo Ye's attitude towards him. On the contrary, Huang Yu's eyes lit up when he heard that Luo Ye wanted to go to Nanmu Square. Uncle Luo, are you going to Nanmu Square? Then we're on the way. I'm also going to Nanmu Square. Brother Zhang Tong will be welcoming Lord Jianli at the Nanmu Plaza today. I didn't know that Aya was back. If I had known, I would have invited Aya in advance. After hearing Huang Yu's words, Luo Ye and Rhode's expressions changed drastically. Rode didn't expect Jianli to visit Nanmu City, a small city at the border. Zhang Tong, the eldest young master of the Class 3 Creation Master clan, actually had the capability to establish a relationship with Lord Jianli. Lord Jianli was a well-known figure among the Divine Wood Federation's younger generation. He was ranked 83rd in the Divine Wood 100 sequence. Compared to Jianli's glory and talent, Rode was more concerned about Jianli's background. The Jian family was a veteran clan in the Divine Wood Federation's capital, Holy Forest City. Rode didn't know if the Jian family had a Class 4 Creation Master. However, the Jian family had 5 Class 3 Creation Master clans under their control. One of the Class 3 Creation Master clans even had a pinnacle Class 3 Creation Master. As the patriarch of a Class 2 Creation Master clan, Luo Ye had never heard of Jianli's visit to Nanmu City. However, because of the Zhang family, Huang Yu was qualified to meet Lord Jianli at Nanmu City's plaza. From this incident, it was enough to show that the Luo family was excluded from Nanmu City's core circle. After thinking about this, Rode made a decision. He had to matchmake Luo Ye and Huang Yu's marriage. At that moment, Luo Ye was feeling apprehensive. Just like the Radiance Federation, the Divine Wood 100 sequence members were also well-known stars in the Divine Wood Federation. In the eyes of the Divine Wood Federation's Spirit Chi professionals, every Divine Wood 100 sequence member was like an unreachable star. They were all on the dome and unreachable stars. Any member of the Divine Wood 100 sequence had supreme privileges and authority in the Divine Wood Federation. Since Huang Yu was going over now, it meant that Jianli would arrive at Nanmu City's plaza within an hour. This was almost overlapping with the time when Lin Yuan arrived at Nanmu City's plaza. Lin Yuan wouldn't bump into Jianli, right? Every member of the Divine Wood 100 sequence would be protected by an expert arranged by the Divine Wood Imperial Court. Although Jianli wasn't a member at the top of the Divine Wood 100 sequence, he was famous for being overbearing. With Jianli's status, it was impossible for him to allow others to arrive at the same place as him on an aerial fae. The place that she had just agreed with Lin Yuan was Nanmu City's plaza. Wouldn't that mean that she had harmed Lin Yuan? At that thought, Luo Ye hurriedly took out her cell phone and anxiously dialed Lin Yuan's number. However, after the phone rang for a long time, Luo Ye realized that Lin Yuan hadn't picked up the phone. After dialing several times, the result was the same. Luo Ye was so anxious that her forehead couldn't help but sweat. Luo Ye could be sure that Lin Yuan's identity wasn't trivial and was likely to be a member of the Deep Enlightenment Federation's hidden aristocratic family. However, if Lin Yuan really had a conflict with Jianli, it would be in the Divine Wood Federation's territory. Lin Yuan, who was born in the Deep Enlightenment Federation, couldn't have an advantage. Huang Yu saw that Luo Ye kept dialing and wanted to go forward to ask who she was calling. However, she was afraid that going forward to ask would anger Luo Ye and become an outlet for her emotions. At that moment, Rode, who was standing next to Luo Ye, had a strange smile on his face. If Luoya could think of this, Road could naturally think of it too. Road couldn't wait for Luoya to be unable to contact her sweetheart. At that time, her sweetheart of unknown origin would be blasted to pieces by Jianli the moment she arrived at the periphery of Namu City Square. With her sweetheart dead, Luoya would have no worries. With his understanding and reasoning, the disheartened Luoya would agree to be engaged to Huang Yu for the family's benefit. Huang Yu didn't treat Luoya badly. After getting married, Luoya would be the Huang family's young mistress and wouldn't suffer much. Luoya was tirelessly dialing Lin Yuan's number over and over again, but she didn't know that Lin Yuan had already put this rarely used cell phone into the diamond face storage box after the call. Chapter 1388. Soon Huang Yu, Luoya and Road arrived at the Nanmu Plaza. Seeing the nearby Nanmu Plaza, Huang Yu quickly said to Road, "Uncle Luo, flying phase are prohibited in front. Why don't we park our flying phase outside the plaza and walk in? If we fly any further, even I will be attacked by my cousin's guards." After hearing Huang Yu's words, Road quickly stopped the flying poison dust moths and ordered them to land outside the Nanmu Plaza. When Road heard Huang Yu's words, he quickly stopped the poison dust moths and ordered them to land in the outer area of the Nanmu Plaza. Then he recalled the poison dust moths into his spiritual spatial zone. Huang Yu had always liked Luoya, so she respected Road very much. After Road recalled the poison dust moths, Huang Yu eagerly led Road and Luoya into the Nanmu Plaza. The Nanmu Plaza was usually the most lively place in Nanmu City, but it was currently surrounded by a large number of armored guards. It was heavily guarded. The plaza was no longer filled with vendors and spirit chi professionals who were strolling around. Along the way, Huang Yu had been greeting these guards and they all recognized her. On account of Huang Yu, these guards didn't take the initiative to stop Luoya and Road. They allowed Huang Yu to bring them in. Road's expression didn't look good when he saw the guards' behavior. From the guards' eyes, Road could feel that they respected Huang Yu more than he did. After passing through layers of guards, Road saw a tall man in a green fur coat standing in the middle of the square. This person was Zhang Tong. Zhang Tong was surrounded by the Zhang family's trusted subordinates. There weren't any people from the other Class 2 Creation Master clans, the Meng family and the Li family. This discovery put Road's heart at ease. It seemed like the Luo family wasn't the only one excluded from Nanmu City's core circle. The other two Creation Master clans, the Meng family and the Li family, couldn't escape the fate of being excluded by the Zhang family either. When Huang Yu saw Zhang Tong, she quickly walked over and shouted, "Big brother Zhang Tong, I thought I was already quite early when I arrived 15 minutes earlier. I didn't expect you to arrive before me." Zhang Tong turned to look at Huang Yu and saw Road and Luoya behind her. Zhang Tong turned to look at Huang Yu and saw Road and Luoya not far behind her. Zhang Tong furrowed his brows slightly. Nanmu City was only so big, and as Huang Yu's cousin, Zhang Tong naturally knew that Huang Yu liked Luoya. Thus, Zhang Tong didn't say anything. Early that morning, Zhang Tong had already arrived at the Nanmu Plaza to make preparations. Although the Zhang clan was the local tyrant of Nanmu City, the size and resources of Nanmu City made it impossible for the Zhang clan to develop further. If he wanted the Zhang family to develop further, he needed to find a breakthrough or a backer. This backer was Jianli, who was about to arrive. He was from the Jian family. The Zhang family intended to make use of the Jian family's resources and connections in Shenmu's capital city, Shenglin City. The Jian family was also happy to control another Class 3 Creation Master clan in the border region. Moreover, Jianli and Zhang Tong had a personal relationship, so Jianli was willing to waste time on this trip. Huang Yu hurriedly explained when she saw the displeased look on Zhang Tong's face. "Brother Zhang Tong, Aya and Uncle Luo will follow behind me. I'll tell them not to cause any trouble. Well, I also want to bring Aya along to broaden her horizons." Upon hearing Huang Yu's words, Zhang Tong immediately knew what Huang Yu was planning. In the Divine Wood Federation, there wasn't a single woman from an aristocratic family who didn't desire wealth and clung to the rich and powerful. Huang Yu wanted to show off her connections in front of Luoya and use this to win her heart. As for Luoya, Zhang Tong didn't fancy her at all. Previously, the Zhang family had intended to choose a wife for Zhang Tong in Nanmu City. However, all the aristocratic women in Nanmu City were placed in front of Zhang Tong, and none of them caught his eye. Zhang Tong had been to Xinglin City to compete for the Divine Wood 100 and failed, so he wanted to find a young lady from an aristocratic family. Zhang Tong knew that only a young lady from an aristocratic family in Xinglin City could help him in the future. Although Zhang Tong wasn't interested in any of the young ladies from the aristocratic families in Nanmu City, he knew all the information about the young ladies from the aristocratic families in Nanmu City. There was a detailed introduction of what Luoya had been doing outside for the past few years. These detailed introductions made Zhang Tong worry whether his cousin's neck was tough enough and whether he could take on so many hats. No matter what, Zhang Tong didn't mind helping his cousin out. Luoya was so anxious that she almost cried when no one picked up Lin Yuan's call. When she saw Huang Yu explaining the rules in front of her father, Luoya had the thought of creating a ruckus in Nanmu Plaza and causing a commotion so that Lin Yuan could escape from danger. However, Luoya couldn't realize this thought. Luoya's strongest fei was the gold mist anti-poison moth. As long as Luoya dared to summon her fei, Road would stop her immediately without anyone making a move. Just as Luoya was getting more and more anxious and didn't know what to do, a sharp and ear-piercing bird cry echoed in the sky, and a black giant bird with a wingspan of 10 meters appeared in the sky. The giant bird's wings stirred up chaotic air currents and gathered into a 30-meter-tall tornado above Nanmu Plaza. The tornado created by the giant bird made the armors of the guards present clatter. On the back of the giant ink-colored bird stood a skinny and somewhat short young man. This youth was wearing a white fur robe, and the wind was blowing at the corner of the fur robe. The fur robe fluttered behind the short youth's back. Such a grade of white fur robe was rarely seen in Nanmu City. Compared to this youth's white fur robe, Zhang Tong's green fur robe was much cheaper. Behind this white-robed youth stood two sturdy men wearing black rattan armor. The ink-colored rattan armor that the two muscular men wore had some dark green leaves growing on it. They looked like living creatures. These black-armored men were the firm wood guards that the Divine Wood Imperial Court had sent to guard the Divine Wood 100 sequence members. Jianli looked down disdainfully from the bird's back. After seeing Zhang Tong, Jianli was ready to let the Platinum X/Legend Blade Feather Eagle bird land. Before Jianli's Blade Feather Eagle bird could land on the ground, the two sturdy wood guards on its back had already leaped down from the Blade Feather Eagle bird's back. They surrounded Jianli, who was about to get off the Blade Feather Eagle bird, in the middle. When the blade-feathered eagle sparrow came to a stop and the tornado created by its wings disappeared, Jianli shook the white fur coat he was wearing. He calmly stepped on the neck of the Blade Feather Eagle bird, which was pressed against the ground, and walked down from its back. When Zhang Tong saw Jianli get off the Blade Feather Eagle bird, he quickly took 2 steps forward and said enthusiastically, "Lord Jianli, your flying type fei is really extraordinary. Lord Jianli, your flying type fei is really extraordinary. A casual flap of its wings can create a whirlwind that can uproot a gold ironwood poplar." AB. Chapter 1389. The short Jianli patted the Blade Feather Eagle sparrow's beak and said, "This Blade Feather Eagle sparrow is just a flying fei that I randomly chose from the bird stable at home. It isn't that rare. As for your Zhang family's platinum/fantasy breed corrosive serpent flood dragon, it should be very enjoyable to ride on. Your Zhang family's platinum/fantasy breed rotten venomous snake flood dragon should be very enjoyable to ride." The corrosive serpent flood dragon was Zhang Tong's father and represented the Zhang family's strongest combat power. Even if the Zhang family wanted to rely on the Jian family, the corrosive serpent flood dragon could never be taken out for Jianli to ride on for fun. Otherwise, the Zhang family would lose all its prestige in Nanmu City and become a joke that the citizens discussed behind closed doors. Otherwise, the Zhang family's prestige in Nanmu City would be completely lost and they would become a joke that the citizens discussed behind closed doors. When Luoya saw Jianli, the last bit of hope in her heart was shattered. If he had arrived first, perhaps there would still be a chance to turn things around. However, Jianli had arrived first, and the situation was no longer within Zhang Tong's control. Now that Jianli had arrived first, the situation was no longer within Zhang Tong's control. Everything that happened next would be up to Jianli. At that moment, Luoya, who was filled with worry and self-blame, felt Road's elbow hit her arm hard. The intense pain brought Luoya back to her senses. Luoya, who came back to her senses, found that Jianli was staring at her. Luoya immediately cursed inwardly. At that moment, Jianli said in a playful tone, "What's wrong? You're dressed up so beautifully, but you're crying because you don't welcome my arrival? Or are you disappointed because you've only heard rumors about me before and realized that I'm not tall?" Jianli's voice became softer in the second half of his sentence. However, Jianli's words made Zhang Tong break out in a cold sweat. Zhang Tong knew that Jianli hated it the most when others mocked his height. It was obvious that Luo Ye's crying expression had caused Jianli to misunderstand. Zhang Tong didn't know if Luo Ye was disappointed by Jianli's height. However, Luo Ye's crying expression when welcoming Jianli was an original sin in itself. The Nanmu City Plaza was heavily guarded, and outsiders weren't allowed to enter. The Luo family insisted on entering with Huang Yu and incurred Jianli's wrath. Such behavior was simply slapping himself in the face. Luo Ye was merely a member of a Class 2 Creation Master clan. Did she really think that she was a young lady from one of those influential clans in the capital city's Holy Forest City? With Luo Ye's identity, she should be careful even when breathing in front of Jianli. Was she worthy of Jianli and marrying into the Jian family? Even Zhang Tong started to have an opinion about Huang Yu, who had attracted Luo Ye here. Luo Ye, who was worried about Lin Yuan, was shocked by Jianli. He was so scared that he couldn't speak. Luo De, who was next to Luo Ye, was also panicking, but he saw that Luo Ye was in a daze and didn't come forward to talk to Jianli. Rode mustered his courage and said to Jianli in a trembling voice, "Lord Jianli, how could my daughter be disappointed in you? My daughter is crying because the 100-man team that I managed previously encountered a dimensional rift at the border and was annihilated. Only I managed to escape. Because of this, my daughter has been grief-stricken. I didn't expect that she would lose her composure in front of Lord Jianli. Lord Jianli, you are charming and charming. My daughter only dares to look up to you. How would she dare to have any other thoughts?" When Rode had first spoken, Zhang Tong had thought that this matter might be over. If the bandit team that Luo Ye had joined had been annihilated, Jianli wouldn't be so overbearing and make things difficult for a woman from a Class 2 Creation Master family. When the time came, he would get someone to bring Luo Ye and Rode down, and the matter would be resolved. But when Rode said, "I only dare to look up to you," Zhang Tong's expression changed. This sentence had violated Jianli's taboo. Zhang Tong had personally witnessed Jianli trying to curry favor with someone who was taller than him. That person had been executed because he had said the words "look up to Jianli." Zhang Tong saw that Huang Yu's expression changed and had the intention to speak up for Luo Ye. Zhang Tong coughed and looked at Huang Yu with sharp eyes. Huang Yu was worried about Luo Ye's situation and felt embarrassed that Luo Ye had disrupted Zhang Tong's plan. When she saw Zhang Tong's expression, Huang Yu was so frightened that she didn't dare to say anything. Jianli's expression had originally been playful. Now that he heard Rode's words, Jianli's expression turned completely gloomy. Zhang Tong came to Jianli's side and said apologetically, "Lord Jianli, they are the Luo family's family head and young lady. If Lord Jianli doesn't want to dirty your hands because of them, I'm willing to help you deal with them immediately. If Lord Jianli does not wish to dirty his hands because of them, I am willing to help Lord Jianli deal with them immediately." After speaking, Zhang Tong whistled with a strange rhythm and a very high pitch toward the northwest of the plaza. The whistle sounded a little like a snake's hissing. As soon as Zhang Tong blew the whistle, a mighty neigh rang out from the northwest. This snake-like hissing had a hint of prestige that belonged to a Daoist species Fei. A purplish-black twin-horned Qilin snake that was nearly 25 meters long soared from the distance and flew toward Zhang Tong. While flying, this long snake, which had Daoist species characteristics, hissed repeatedly and flicked out its black tongue that was nearly half a meter long. Its dark purple venomous fangs emitted an eerie chill under the sunlight. Before this giant snake, which obviously had a Daoist species bloodline, arrived at the Nanmu Plaza, the air was filled with a fishy smell. This purplish-black giant snake was the Zhang family head's main Fei, the corrosive serpent flood dragon. In order to welcome Jianli, the Zhang family head had specially released the corrosive serpent flood dragon. He had also made the corrosive serpent flood dragon listen to Zhang Tong's orders. Accompanied by the Platinum X/Fantasy Eye corrosive serpent flood dragon's hissing, the blade feather eagle bird's aura suddenly weakened, and it flapped its wings restlessly. It was obviously very afraid of the corrosive serpent flood dragon. Although the blade feather eagle bird and the corrosive serpent flood dragon were both pinnacle platinum fays, one was a fantasy breed, while the other wasn't an ordinary fae. However, one was a fantasy breed while the other wasn't a normal fae. If they were to compare, it would be equivalent to a major grade difference. Fortunately, the blade feather eagle bird was controlled by 2 ironwood guards. Coupled with the creation master's taming, the blade feather eagle bird didn't go berserk and hurt people or flee in panic. Zhang Tong's words made Road feel despair and caused Huang Yu's expression to change. The corrosive serpent flood dragon was entrenched in the Nanmu Plaza and was ready to start a massacre at any time. It kept flicking out its black tongue, indicating that the corrosive serpent flood dragon was in a hungry state. Finally, Huang Yu looked at Luoya and recalled her father's teachings at home. She had no choice but to lower her head. The Huang family was also a Class 2 creation master aristocratic family. If it wasn't for her aunt, she wouldn't be qualified to welcome Jianli here. It wouldn't be of any use if she pleaded for Luoya now. She might even offend Lord Jianli and implicate the entire Huang family. Chapter 1390. Huang Yu liked Luoya, but she didn't have the intention to die for her. At the moment of life and death, facing Zhang Tong, Jianli, and the terrifying corrosive snake flood dragon, Luoya realized that she wasn't as afraid as she imagined. Instead, her heart was abnormally clear. At that moment, Luoya suddenly felt resentful. In Nanmu City, a Class 2 creation master clan didn't think about how to enhance phase, but to curry favor with a Class 3 creation master clan. When facing the Divine Wood 100, just a single glance from her had caused a calamity to befall her. How absurd was this? At that moment, Luoya understood that strength was the root of everything. Currying favor was just a shortcut. Compared to the fear of being swallowed by the corrosive snake flood dragon, when she thought of Jianli's overbearing and ruthlessness, she felt even more worried. Luoya was increasingly worried about Lin Yuan, who was about to arrive. Zhang Tong originally thought that Luoya would beg Jianli in fear after he summoned the corrosive snake flood dragon to please Jianli. Who would have thought that Luoya was the only one begging for mercy? Zhang Tong could feel the growing impatience in Jianli's eyes when he saw Luoya crying and trembling in fear. Zhang Tong quickly gave the corrosive snake flood dragon an order. Go. Corrosive snake flood dragon, it's time to eat. Upon hearing Zhang Tong's order, the corrosive snake flood dragon's black body instantly slithered away. The friction between the scales let out an ear-piercing sound. In the blink of an eye, the corrosive snake flood dragon's massive body arrived in front of Luoya and Luoya. Just as the corrosive snake flood dragon was preparing to eat, a melodious dragon roar echoed in the sky. This melodious dragon roar caused Jianli's eyes to narrow. Jianli wasn't a creation master, but he was from the Sacred Forest City's prestigious Jian clan and had seen plenty of dragon species phase. Just based on this dragon roar, Jianli could determine that the roaring dragon species Fei definitely had a higher bloodline than the corrosive snake flood dragon. This dragon roar didn't have a bloodthirsty feeling, but it was abnormally noble and elegant. It should be a pure-blooded flood dragon species Fei. It wasn't strange for such a Fei to appear in the royal capital, Sacred Forest City, and it wouldn't be too conspicuous in Oak City either. However, it was rather strange for it to appear in Nanmu City. Could it be that there are other big shots coming to Nanmu City today besides me? Dragon species Fei's valued bloodline the most. If it was a pure-blooded dinosaur Fei's roar, the rotten venomous snake flood dragon might not be so afraid. After all, dinosaurs and flood dragons were 2 different branches of dragon species Fei's. The pure-blooded flood dragon's cries were suppressing the rotten snake flood dragon, causing it to lose its desire to eat. When everyone raised their heads to look at the sky, they saw a 100-meter-long dragon gliding towards Nanmu Square from afar. After Lin Yuan released Blackie, it started to run around happily. It released its diamond/fantasy breed phase aura without restraint. Xiao Hei's pressure was clearly felt by everyone in the Nanmu Square. The appearance of the diamond/fantasy breed pure-blood flood dragon made the expressions of the 2 firmwood guards guarding Jianli turn grave. As the ink-colored giant flood dragon approached from afar, everyone suddenly realized that there were 3 figures standing on top of this handsome ink-colored pure-blooded flood dragon. The white-clothed youth standing at the front was caressing the black flood dragon's mane with an elegant expression. He had dashing eyebrows and red lips, and his facial features were so exquisite that people couldn't shift their eyes away. This youth might not be wearing the highly sought-after fur in the Divine Wood Federation, but his white silk spirit chi clothes seemed to be rippling with layers of mist in the wind. This white spirit chi clothing should be woven from the mist silk that the diamond fey water mist cold silkworm spat out. The youth's waist was equipped with a belt studded with all kinds of pearls and jade. Many of the guards couldn't recognize the pearls and jade embedded on the belt. Only Zhang Tong could recognize the jade-textured wood and the blue pyroxene, which was only produced in the Class 3 underground dimensional rift. Just from the accessories on the belt, Zhang Tong could confirm that this person's identity was extremely prominent. Otherwise, it was impossible for a belt to cost at least $1 million deep Sanskrit dollars. As the young family head of a Class 3 creation master clan, Zhang Tong's insight was definitely not as good as Jian Li's, who was from the capital city's Sacred Forest City's aristocratic family. Jian Li could see more tricks from the accessories on Lin Yuan's belt. Zhang Tong thought that the light yellow wooden wheel embroidered at the edge of Lin Yuan's belt was jade-textured yellow willow wood. However, Jian Li could see at a glance that the wooden wheel on Lin Yuan's belt was not jade-textured yellow willow wood but completely jade-textured jasper pear wood. The value of completely jade-textured jasper pear wood and yellow willow wood was hundreds of times different. As for the blue pyroxene, which Zhang Tong recognized only produced in the Class 3 underground dimensional rift, it was the most common item on the belt. The Milky Way jade and the sea vein stone were exquisitely embedded on the belt. The belt formed the scenery of the sea vein pearl. It was this belt that made Jian Li repeatedly examine Lin Yuan and see his black hair and eyes. Jian Li was sure that Lin Yuan was from a hidden aristocratic clan in the Deep Lore Federation. The Deep Lore Federation's hidden aristocratic clan controlled the entire Aon continent's Chamber of Commerce and controlled 60% of the Aon continent's wealth. Each of them was a colossus in the Aon continent. Although the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation had always had bandits attacking the Deep Lore Federation's caravans, their main purpose was to frame each other. Plundering wealth was just incidental. From this, it could be seen that the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation were reducing each other's impression in the Deep Lore Federation's Chamber of Commerce. It was very important for the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation to show the Deep Lore Federation's Chamber of Commerce's view. Because Jian Li was born in the Holy Forest City's Jian family, he would always know much more than ordinary people. This also made Jian Li more afraid of the Deep Lore Federation's aristocratic clans than Zhang Tong. It could be said that after confirming Lin Yuan's identity with a belt, Jian Li decided to rope him in. Even if he could not become Lin Yuan's friend after a round of roping, at the very least he would not become an enemy. When Jian Li looked behind Lin Yuan, he saw Lu Jia and Ji Feng behind him. Lu Jia was dressed in black armor and Ji Feng was dressed in a black robe. Neither of them were wearing fur coats, but Jian Li could sense an extraordinary air of nobility coming from them. Lu Jia was a Radiance 100 sequence member and a disciple of the chief guard of the Radiant Spirit Guards. If Lu Jia came to the Divine Wood Federation with this identity, the Divine Wood Federation would specially hold a reception for him in the Divine Wood Royal Court to entertain him. At that time, the Divine Wood City's aristocratic clans would fight to the death for an invitation to join the reception. Ji Feng was very down and out when he met Lin Yuan, but he was indeed the young family master of the Whale Ocean Trade's Ocean Sky lineage, one of the 3 top factions. The aristocratic aura accumulated in his youth could not be erased no matter how hard he tried. Jian Li could be sure that the 3 people on the Diamond/Fantasy breed Black Flood Dragon all had extraordinary origins. Chapter 1391. Lu Jia and Ji Feng, who were dressed in black armor and black robes, were like stars surrounding the moon. It was enough to show that Lin Yuan had the highest status among the 3 of them. Roha was ready to die calmly, but he heard a dragon roar from the sky. Luoya didn't expect it to be Lin Yuan. After all, Luoya knew too little about Lin Yuan. She only knew that he had a white cat with many tails. When the Black Flood Dragon got close, Luoya's eyes were immediately attracted to Lin Yuan after noticing him. Previously, Luoya had been traveling with Lin Yuan and would secretly size him up 5 or 6 times every minute. Luoya believed that she could see Lin Yuan's appearance very clearly. Although his facial features had not changed, The change in his bone structure made Luoya feel that he was much more handsome than before. It was difficult to conceal the nobility of his temperament. If Lin Yuan had such a temperament back then, no matter how dirty he had smeared his body, he would not have been able to resist. Luoya would not just treat him as a lost member of a small caravan. In the midst of despair, the white-robed youth arrived on a dragon like a deity. Luoya was mesmerized by the fluttering hair on the forehead of the white-clothed youth. Lin Yuan, who was on Little Black's back, was confused. He didn't understand why Luoya wanted to meet him in such a crowded place. Moreover, most of the people in the Nanmu Square were guards. It wasn't as lively as Luoya had described. Why was there a platinum-level purplish-black snake in the square all of a sudden? In a city like Nanmu City, such a fae should be a very high-grade fae. Lin Yuan subconsciously used Morbius True Data to check this black snake's attributes. With one look, Lin Yuan could not help but twitch his mouth. This Platinum X/Fantasy Eye Rotten Snake Flood Dragon's low-grade skill and first exclusive skill indicated that it was good at taking the physical route. However, the person who nurtured this corrosive poisonous flood dragon serpent had lured it to develop on the path of poison. He had arbitrarily changed the phase development path and didn't use pure spirit chi to guide it. This meant that the corrosive venomous flood dragon might never have the chance to evolve its bloodline again. When poison-type phase were at silver, gold, and platinum, they indeed had combat power that far surpassed other phase of the other elements. But if he went further up, the poison-type phase would be of little value. When they arrived at Nanmu City, Lin Yuan patted Little Black's dragon horn and said, "Little Black, let's go to Nanmu City. Little Black, don't disturb the people. Restrain your aura when you're in the city." Lin Yuan's action of touching the little black dragon's horn almost caused it to go limp and fall from the sky. Previously, he had touched Blackie's dragon horn, which was the most sensitive part of a flood dragon fae. Blackie was very vexed. It had clearly told Lin Yuan not to touch the corners, so why was Lin Yuan touching them now? However, Blackie was not averse to Lin Yuan touching its dragon horn. Therefore, Blackie stopped reminding Lin Yuan and obediently listened to him. He retracted his aura. Xiao He withdrew the aura of a pure-blooded flood dragon, and the rotten venomous flood dragon on the ground was immediately freed from its state of fear. The corrosive poisonous flood dragon still remembered Zhang Tong's instructions. The snake immediately opened its mouth and attacked Roha. Compared to Roha was obviously more delicious. Therefore, the corrosive poisonous flood dragon decided to start with Luoya. This scene made Lin Yuan frown abruptly, and he immediately ordered Blackie, "Blackie, don't be afraid." Blackie used Spirit Purity Burst to stop this corrosive poisonous flood dragon. When Blackie heard Lin Yuan's order, it immediately swung its tail and a black scale fell off the tip of its tail. Then a ball of pure spiritual energy surged out of Little Black's body. After attaching this ball of pure spiritual energy to the black scales, Little Black flicked its tail. Blackie swung its tail and ruthlessly whipped the black scale. Just as the corrosive poisonous flood dragon was about to bite Roha, the black scale blasted on the corrosive poisonous flood dragon's body. It blasted a huge hole on the corrosive poisonous flood dragon's coiled body. Under the intense pain, the corrosive poisonous flood dragon raised its head and let out a painful hiss. Lin Yuan nodded with satisfaction when he saw Blackie's exclusive skill, Spirit Purity Burst. As an exclusive skill that Blackie had comprehended when it evolved into a fantasy breed, Blackie was naturally able to use it. However, when Blackie used Spirit Purity Burst, the spirit chi it used was far less pure than Lin Yuan's spirit chi. This caused Blackie's Spirit Purity Burst to be far weaker than Lin Yuan's. Blackie might be a support-type fae, but when it came to a fight, its combat ability wasn't weak. Blackie might not be able to defeat a power offense-type fae of the same grade when it used Spirit Purity Burst. However, it was still more than enough to defeat a power offense-type fae that was one grade weaker than it. While the corrosive poisonous flood dragon was hissing in pain, Roha pulled Road to the side to avoid being implicated by the struggling corrosive poisonous flood dragon. The black flood dragon suddenly launched an attack, causing Zhang Tong's expression to change drastically. Even Jian Li's gaze turned gloomy. Could the three individuals on the back of the black flood dragon be enemies and not friends? Jian Li couldn't remember when he had encountered these three individuals on the black flood dragon's back. Jian Li turned to look at Roha and noticed that she was staring at the white-clothed youth on the black flood dragon's back with a burning gaze. Jianli immediately understood that this white-clothed youth and Rohan knew each other. This explained why the white-clothed youth on the black flood dragon's back would suddenly attack the corrosive poisonous flood dragon. While Jianli was pondering, the two Firmwood guards were afraid that the black flood dragon would continue to attack and implicate Jianli. Therefore, without Jianli's permission, the two Firmwood guards each took 2 steps forward and arrived in front of Jianli. Subsequently, they summoned their fays. The Divine Wood Federation's Firmwood guards were trained to protect the Divine Wood 100 sequence members. All of them were experts. In order to maximize the strength of their main phase, the Divine Wood Federation poured all of its resources into the Firmwood guards' main phase. As a result, the Firmwood guards would usually only contract one fey. At that moment, a giant beetle and a golden-brown monkey that was a head shorter than Jianli were summoned. The giant dark green beetle was 7 meters long, 3 meters tall, and 4 meters wide. It looked like a giant moving war chariot. The dark green beetle's carapace was like a mirror, and it could clearly reflect the surroundings. Just from the thick carapace and the giant beetle's clumsy movement, it could be seen that this beetle was extremely adept at defense. After the other golden-brown monkey was summoned, its body quickly ignited with raging flames. The flames made the air above the Nanmu Plaza scorch, and heat waves kept surging from the monkey's body into the sky. This golden-brown monkey punched with both fists, and the fists each spewed out 2 pillars of fire. It was obvious that this monkey was an extremely adept at attack. The Firmwood Guard's main phase that the Divine Wood Federation had paired with the Divine Wood 100 had always been one for offense and one for defense. Chapter 1392. The giant dark green beetle and the fiery brownish gold monkey stood in front of Jianli, one on the left and one on the right. It immediately gave birth to a stance that seemed to be on par with the enormous inky flood dragon in the sky. When the 2 Ironwood guards had just summoned their fays, Lin Yuan had used True Data to check on them. According to True Data, one of these 2 fays was a Diamond X/Fantasy 4 Wood Bullet Insect. The other was a Diamond X/Fantasy V Exploding Fire Golden Monkey. The Wood Bullet Worm's combination of abilities and exclusive skills was outstanding. Its mirror-like back armor had the ability to reflect damage to a certain extent. However, if one were to compare them, the Wood Bullet Bug's potential was much lower than Chu Si's Golden Jadeite Yellow Butterfly. As for the Explosive Fire Golden Monkey, it was a combat fey that cultivated both physical and elemental attacks. There wasn't anything special about the skill, it was just average. However, fays that excelled in both physical and magical arts usually didn't have any weaknesses in combat. Be it the Wood Shield Bullet Insect or the Explosive Fire Golden Monkey, they were both considered pinnacle fantasy breed fays. The Explosive Fire Golden Monkey was only one step away from welcoming the world cleansing and becoming a myth breed. This meant that the 2 black-armored men in front of the short man were both peak king stage powerhouses. Lin Yuan's original intention was to find Luo Ya in Nanmu City and obtain the walnut tree from her. He then took a look at Nanmu City's market to see if there were any fays like the clear yang flower for sale. He also inquired about the market price of fays like the clear yang flower that could produce chi phenomena. If there were many plant fays that could produce weather phenomena in Nanmu City, he planned to collect more of them in the city. This would allow Gray, who had been trapped in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, to increase its strength. In Nanmu City, there weren't many plant fays that could produce weather phenomena. After he found Zhou Xian in Oak City, he would contact the Sincere E-Caravan. He wanted to see if he could use his relationship with the Sincere E-Caravan to obtain fays like the clear sunflower that could produce chi phenomena from the Deep Frost Chamber of Commerce in large quantities. However, the current situation was clearly different from what he had expected. When Jianli saw that the 2 Firmwood guards had summoned their main fays, he quickly prepared to berate them. If the fays were to assume an offensive stance, it would obviously make the atmosphere stiff. At that time, how would he be able to rope in and befriend the white-clothed youth on the back of the inky flood dragon? Before Jianli could ask the 2 sturdy wood guards to retrieve their fays, Lu Jie's expression suddenly turned cold. What Lu Jie hated the most was people targeting Lin Yuan. Since the other party dared to put on such an obvious offensive posture, then don't blame me for being impolite. The spiritual energy in Lu Jie's body, which had just been replenished by Little Black, surged again. At this moment, Lu Jie's consumption of spiritual energy was even crazier than when he had the insect queen create the hurricane owlet moths. Night Leaning Moon had upgraded Lu Jie's insect queen to Diamond X/Fantasy V. With such a grade, the insect queen could freely control the grade of the produced insect species phase. The level of the produced insects would be changed from normal to Diamond X/Fantasy V. However, because Lu Jie had always been using the insect C tactic, he rarely let the insect queen produce Diamond X/Fantasy breed insects. This time Lu Jie did not choose to let the insect queen produce the hurricane owlet moths, plasma moths and electric caterpillars, which required a lot of energy and insect protein to produce. Lu Jie chose to let the insect queen mass produce the insect species Fei, the flesh-mincing blade insect at normal. One after another, the insect queen produced Diamond X/Fantasy I flesh-mincing blade insects in the belly of the dimensional light moths. One by one, the dimensional light moths threw the flesh-mincing blade insects out of their bellies. In an instant, nearly 100 Diamond X/Fantasy I flesh-mincing blade insects landed on the ground and gathered into a swarm. They crawled toward the Namu square with a mighty momentum. A total of 300 flesh-mincing blade insects did not make any insect sounds while crawling. With every step forward, the dagger-like insect legs would pierce the limestone slabs on the ground. On the undamaged ground, terrifying scars were drawn one after another. If it was a Diamond X/Fantasy I flesh-mincing blade insect, the two sturdy wood guards would not be afraid. After a simple battle, the two sturdy wood guards commanded their fays to kill the Diamond X/Fantasy I flesh-mincing blade insects. After all, the wood bullet insect was a Fantasy 4 fey, while the explosive golden monkey was a Fantasy V. However, when the insects formed a swarm, things began to change. Over 300 Diamond/Fantasy breed insects were a terrifying combat power that Nanmu City had never seen before. Such a team of flesh-mincing blade insects was enough to turn Nanmu City into a living hell. Even Jian Li, who had seen big scenes, could not help but gasp when he saw the swarm of Diamond/Fantasy breed insect species phase. After doing all this, Lu Jie looked at Lin Yuan. He asked Lin Yuan if he wanted the flesh-mincing blade insects to attack the wood bullet insect and the explosive golden monkey. Lin Yuan shook his head gently at Lu Jie. The situation was unclear, so there was no need to make a move. The pinnacle king-class experts that he had to look up to a few months ago were no longer a threat to Lin Yuan. Killing those two pinnacle king-class experts would not benefit Lin Yuan at all. Just as Blackie was about to touch the ground, Lin Yuan waved his hand and stored Blackie in his spiritual spatial zone. Lin Yuan, Lu Jie and Ji Feng landed on the Namu Plaza in a carefree manner. Zhang Tong and the others' pupils shrank when they saw this scene. Everyone clearly saw that when the youth in white had stored the ink-colored flood dragon, he had not taken out the walnut that could hold items. This meant that the ink-colored flood dragon was this youth's contracted fey. It was simply too shocking. How old was this youth in white to have a Diamond/Fantasy breed fey? Jian Li was the divine wood 100 sequence 83rd, and his strongest fey was only gold X/Fantasy I. Jian Li had always been proud of his strength. However, compared to this youth in white, his strength was not enough at all. Upon seeing Lin Yuan walking in his direction, Jian Li hurriedly said to the two ironwood guards beside him, "What are you two doing? What are you two doing? Why did you summon a fey when a friend is here?" Jian Li's voice was very loud and it reached everyone's ears. It made Zhang Tong's heart skip a beat. He had gotten up early in the morning to set up this place for Jian Li. In order to help Jian Li vent his anger, he had even summoned the strongest corrosive serpent flood dragon. The corrosive serpent flood dragon had been seriously injured by the ink-colored flood dragon's attack just now. It was still rolling on the ground and hissing. However, facing the person who had injured the corrosive serpent flood dragon, Jian Li put on a smiling face. He even affectionately called that person a friend. When Zhang Tong heard the word friend, he only felt that it was extremely ironic. If that youth in white was a friend, then what was he? Chapter 1393. Lin Yuan did not know Jian Li, so he ignored Jian Li's greeting. Lin Yuan only knew Luoya, so he simply waved at her. He decided to ask about Luoya's situation first. Upon seeing Lin Yuan waving at her, Luoya hurriedly pulled the bewildered Roger and ran toward him. Previously, Rhodes' face was full of fear, thinking that he would be buried in the snake's stomach because of Roya's expression. Who would have thought that an ink-colored giant flood dragon would appear in the sky and save him and Luoya? Rode suddenly had a guess in his mind. Among the 3 people on the back of the enormous inky flood dragon, could one of them be Luoya's boyfriend? If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have forced Luoya to interact with Huang Yu and marry into the Huang family. Didn't they see that even Lord Jianli was expressing goodwill towards the 3 people on the back of the inky black flood dragon? Seeing the young man in white waving to Luoya, Rode was even more sure of his guess. Slowly Rode stopped trembling and straightened his back. It was as though Rode's status in the Nanmu Plaza had become higher than Zhang Tong and Jianli. Lin Yuan asked as he looked at Luoya, who had run in front of him. Didn't we agree to meet here? What's going on here? Upon hearing his question, Luoya lowered her head in embarrassment. Luoya turned to look in Zhang Tong and Jianli's direction and discovered that Zhang Tong was looking at her threateningly. Roha's eyes flashed. He hurriedly turned around and said to Lin Yuan, "Don't worry. I didn't know that Zhang Tong was here to welcome Lord Jianli, so I decided to meet him here." Fortunately, there was no misunderstanding. After saying that, Luoya lowered her voice and explained softly to Lin Yuan. Zhang Tong is the young patriarch of a Class 3 Creation Master clan in Nanmu City. Lord Jianli is a Divine Wood 100 sequence member. At this time Luoya's heart was full of grievances. Just because her gaze was wrong, she almost died in the mouth of the corrosive poisonous snake flood dragon. However, Luoya knew that their relationship was too shallow. She had to clarify her relationship with Lin Yuan. It was when they were facing the Class 2 underground dimensional rift at the border of the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. He owed Lin Yuan his life. Thus, Luoya did not tell Lin Yuan about the specific situation. She only said that it was fortunate that no misunderstanding had occurred. If Lin Yuan had not been riding on the Black Flood Dragon, it would have been a different story. Based on the situation just now, he knew that something must have happened here. However, Lin Yuan did not care about this. Zhang Tong was the young family head of a Class 3 Creation Master clan, and he could do whatever he wanted in Nanmu City. However, Lin Yuan did not take it seriously at all. If he wanted a Class 3 Creation Master, he would need less than 2 days. Genius was able to nurture a Class 3 Creation Master's 100 questions beast. A Class 3 Creation Master was worthless to Lin Yuan. However, Jianli's identity as a Divine Wood 100 sequence member piqued his interest. If Lin Yuan could use such an identity, he could quickly open the door to the Divine Wood Federation's upper-class society. At the same time, he learned first-hand information that only the upper echelons of the Divine Wood Federation could know. While Lin Yuan was interested in Jianli's identity, Jianli had already taken the lead and walked toward Lin Yuan. Upon seeing Jianli walking toward the white-clothed youth, the 2 Atomwood guards beside Jianli and Zhang Tong hurriedly followed Jianli's footsteps and walked toward Lin Yuan together. When Luoya saw Jianli and Zhang Tong walking towards her, she subconsciously shrank back in fear. Lin Yuan noticed Luoya's reaction. When he thought about the platinum corrosive venomous snake that wanted to devour Luoya, he roughly understood the current situation. Luoya had been paying attention to Lin Yuan's eyes and saw him looking at Jianli with interest. Luoya immediately understood Lin Yuan's intentions. Coincidentally, the rotten venomous flood dragon was struggling on the ground. In order to stop the bleeding from the large hole in its body, it quickly grew new flesh. The corrosive venomous flood dragon used its tail to bind the wound and continuously tightened its grip on the wound. This caused the corrosive venomous flood dragon to hiss in pain. Luoya immediately bowed to Lin Yuan and asked, "Young master, this little snake that hasn't even awakened its flood dragon bloodline has disturbed your peace. Why don't I deal with this little snake first? That way it won't bother you again." Lin Yuan understood Luoya's nature and knew that he was not a murderous person. Although Luoya was Lin Yuan's retainer knight, he would not bow to Lin Yuan when speaking. Most of the time Luoya would call Lin Yuan by his name. He would only address Lin Yuan as young master for some important matters. Luoya must have said this because he wanted to use this to open up the situation and let Lin Yuan take the initiative. Lin Yuan glanced at Zhang Tong, who was beside Jianli, and revealed a pondering expression. It was as though he was considering if Luoya's suggestion was feasible. Upon hearing Luoya's words, Zhang Tong's expression suddenly changed. He was currently in the same despair as Luoya. The corrosive venomous flood dragon was his father's main fei and the Zhang family's strongest combat power. Once the corrosive venomous flood dragon was killed, it would definitely cause his father's spiritual energy to be damaged. Class 3 creation masters relied on spiritual energy to concoct spirit fluids. Spiritual energy damage would cause his father to fall from his position as a Class 3 creation master. At that time, the Zhang family, a Class 3 creation master family, would cease to exist. Without his father, the Zhang family would immediately lose its value in Jianli's eyes. The Zhang family had accumulated power in Nanma City for many years and had always been overbearing. If his father fell, the Zhang family would lose their strongest combat power. The Huang family wouldn't target the Zhang family because of his mother. However, the Luo family, the Meng family, and the Li family would definitely join forces to resist the Zhang family. In addition, Luo Ye knew that white-clothed youth and he might continue to attack the Zhang family after killing the corrosive venomous flood dragon. Zhang Tong turned around and looked at Jianli with pleading eyes. He only hoped that Jianli could speak up for him. In the end, Zhang Tong saw Jianli looking at the white-clothed youth with astonishment. When Jianli noticed Zhang Tong's pleading eyes, Jianli merely glanced at him and didn't express anything else. Jianli's indifference caused Zhang Tong's heart to turn cold. Jianli originally thought that the three individuals on the inky flood dragon's back were of the same trade. The three of them had an extraordinary aura and looked like the young masters of the Deep Enlightenment Federation's hidden aristocratic clans. However, he didn't expect the black-armored youth to be the white-clothed youth's servant. Furthermore, this swarm of insects was a technique unleashed by the black-armored youth. The servant had the aura of a descendant of an aristocratic clan, and his strength was appalling. This made Jianli even more unable to see through Lin Yuan's strength. Even his steps forward became a little hesitant and he wasn't as calm as before. After Zhang Tong confirmed that Jianli didn't have any intention to help him, he gritted his teeth and took 2 steps forward. He then knelt on one knee and said, "Brother Lin, I'm sorry." Chapter 1394. Young Master, the corrosive snake flood dragon is my father's fei. I didn't mean to offend you. Pain is a fei's instinct, but I didn't know that the corrosive snake flood dragon's hissing would make you feel noisy. I will immediately let the corrosive snake flood dragon leave this place so that it won't disturb you again. Zhang Tong's face was pale, but he was gritting his teeth and pleading. Lin Yuan had a rough idea of Zhang Tong's personality. Zhang Tong had taken a few glances at Jianli before pleading. According to Luo Ye, Zhang Tong had welcomed Jianli here. It meant that Zhang Tong and Jianli had a certain friendship. As a Divine Wood 100 sequence member, Jianli's status was much higher than Zhang Tong, who was from a Class 3 Creation Master clan. But when Zhang Tong was pleading, Jianli didn't speak up for him. It seemed like Jianli was exceptionally cold. Just as Zhang Tong thought that Lin Yuan wouldn't agree and the insect swarm was about to move, Zhang Tong heard a clear and pleasant voice ring out in his ears. Since you said it, pain is a fei's instinct. What is there to blame for a fei's instincts? Zhang Tong was startled by Lin Yuan's words. Zhang Tong gently raised his head and unexpectedly met Lin Yuan's gaze. The youth's pure black eyes were as deep as the starry sky, and Zhang Tong felt as though he was staring into an unfathomable abyss. Jianli revealed a surprised expression when he heard that Lin Yuan had spared the corrosive snake flood dragon. Jianli took a step forward and said, "Zhang Tong, why aren't you thanking this young master again? If this young master releases the corrosive snake flood dragon, your Zhang family will have to thank this young master. Why don't you hold a thank you banquet for this young master in your Zhang family's auditorium tonight?" Jianli's words made it seem as if he was trying to find a way out of this embarrassing situation for Zhang Tong. It wasn't that Jianli didn't want to help Zhang Tong, but he didn't have time to plead. In fact, it was because the bugs present made Jianli very uncomfortable. Just now, 2 of his firmwood guards had summoned their feis and were in an obvious attacking stance towards that black flood dragon. These insects had been summoned because of the previous confrontation. If Jianli were to open his mouth to rope Lin Yuan in, he was really afraid that Lin Yuan would reject him. In that case, there would be no room for change. The Jian family was a big family in the Divine Wood Federation, and the people of the Divine Wood Federation were open-minded. There were more than 20 direct descendants of the Jian family. Among them, there were 3 who made it to the Divine Wood 100 sequence. Jianli was the youngest, and his ranking in the Divine Wood 100 sequence was the lowest. However, Jianli had always wanted to fight against his 2 brothers. It was just that he had never found a suitable opportunity. Now Jianli regarded Lin Yuan as an opportunity that he might seize. In the great aristocratic families, even though everyone around them was related by blood, they were all cold. The only way was to climb up to the highest position. Only then could they enjoy power and splendor. This principle had been deeply engraved in Jianli's bones ever since he was sensible. Seeing that Zhang Tong didn't respond immediately, Jianli raised his leg and kicked Zhang Tong's calf. Only then did Zhang Tong come back to his senses from that pair of deep black eyes. Zhang Tong said hurriedly, "In order to express my gratitude to young lord, I would like to host a banquet in the family hall tonight to welcome young lord's arrival in Nanmu City. It's also a good opportunity to welcome Lord Jianli, who has also come from afar. I wonder if young lord has time." Lu Jie's behavior and Lin Yuan's approach just now were to let Zhang Tong or Jianli build a suitable social occasion. Lin Yuan had just arrived in the Divine Wood Federation, and the help Luo Ye could give him was too little. This kind of grand social occasion was what Lin Yuan needed. "I will stay in Nanmu City for a day and leave before noon tomorrow. I will naturally be free at night." Zhang Tong turned to Luo Ye and rode and said, "Little Ye knows you, young lord. Little sister Ye knows you, young master. Little sister Ye knows where it is. I will have to trouble little Ye to bring young lord there." Luo Ye and Rode held their breaths when they heard that. They didn't expect that they would be personally invited to such an occasion by Zhang Tong. This was completely on account of Lin Yuan's face. Moreover, Zhang Tong's address of little Ye made Rode know that after today's incident, the Zhang family would also become a trusted aid of the Luo family. If the Zhang clan took in the Luo clan as their trusted aides, they would be able to develop well in Nanmu City like the Huang clan. Rode and Luo Ye immediately accepted Zhang Tong's invitation with joy. When Rode and Luo Ye led Lin Yuan, Lu Jie and Ji Feng away from Nanmu Plaza to the Huang family, Zhang Tong stood up from the ground. When Zhang Tong stood up again, the way he looked at Jianli had completely changed. Although Zhang Tong's eyes were still filled with enthusiasm for Jianli, there was no longer any sincerity. Zhang Tong's decision to abandon the Zhang family without hesitation made Zhang Tong's heart turn cold. He knew that even if the Zhang family tried to curry favor with the Jian family, it would be like asking a tiger for its skin. They wouldn't be able to get any protection and might be abandoned at any time. Since the white-clothed youth was attending the banquet with the Zhang family tonight, could he get rid of Jianli and cooperate with the white-clothed youth? The white-clothed youth came from the Deep Enlightenment Federation and was dressed so luxuriously. He must have a lot of resources in the Chamber of Commerce. As long as a large Chamber of Commerce established a branch in Nanmu City, the city's economy would develop rapidly in a short period of time. Of course, this was just Zhang Tong's wishful thinking. Nanmu City's geographical location determined that the Chamber of Commerce couldn't establish a branch in the city. However, if the Zhang family could work for the white-clothed youth in the future, the Zhang family might be able to develop better than having a Chamber of Commerce establish a branch in Nanmu City. Everyone present had their own thoughts. Zhang Tong had originally planned to personally bring Jianli back to the Zhang family to rest. However, Zhang Tong was already disappointed with Jianli, so he found an excuse to clean up the mess at Nanmu Plaza. He let the injured corrosive venomous snake flood dragon bring Jianli and 2 Atomwood guards to the Zhang family on the blade feather eagle sparrow. After Jianli and the 2 Atomwood guards left, Zhang Tong heaved a sigh of relief and immediately saw the ashen-faced Huang Yu. Zhang Tong walked forward with an angry expression and stood beside Huang Yu without saying a word. When Huang Yu saw that everyone had left, she gritted her teeth and said angrily to Zhang Tong, "Cousin, could Luo Ye and that person already be together? Cousin, is it possible that Roha and that person are already together?" On the way here, Luo Ye kept making calls on her cell phone. It is likely that she was calling that person. "I want to go home now and ask my father to ask Uncle Luo. If there's nothing going on between Aya and that person, I want to get engaged to Aya immediately." Before Huang Yu could finish speaking, Zhang Tong viciously slapped him across the face. Zhang Tong had used all his strength in this slap, causing Huang Yu, who was 1.8 meters tall, to stumble. Chapter 1395. Zhang Tong said coldly to Huang Yu. What is the identity of that young master? What kind of woman is Luoya? Why would that young master like Luoya? Haven't you heard that the rich and powerful families of the Deep Burn Federation practice monogamy? It's impossible for a woman like Luoya to become the matriarch of a hidden noble clan in the Deep Burn Federation. Tomorrow that young master will leave. When that young master leaves, he won't bring Luoya with him. At that time you can pursue Luoya again. I won't stop you. But if you force Luoya, it's very likely that the Huang family will be exterminated. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Think about it carefully. Zhang Tong had just noticed that Luoya was looking at the white-robed youth. But the white-clothed youth didn't even look at Luoya. If Roja really had a close relationship with the boy in white, then when the boy in white asked, Luoya would never be vague about the grievances she had suffered. Fortunately, Luoya had nothing to do with the white-clothed youth. Otherwise, none of the people in the square would have survived the attack of more than 300 diamond/fantasy breed bugs. Zhang Tong ignored Huang Yu, who was stunned by his slap. Taking a deep breath, he took out his phone and prepared to explain the situation to his father before Jianli arrived at the Zhang family. It would also allow his father to make a judgment. Lin Yuan, Lu Jie and Ji Feng did not stay in the Luo residence despite Road and Luo Ye's warm invitation. Instead, he booked a treehouse near the Luo family and prepared to experience the unique architecture of the Divine Wood Federation. Luoya, who had been rejected, was very disappointed. However, Luoya, who had been outside for many years, understood the ways of the world. She knew that it was impossible for her to be with Lin Yuan. Luoya forced herself to bury this feeling deep in her heart and decided to deepen their relationship in other aspects. Luoya changed the topic and said, Lin Yuan, stay in this treehouse first and then come to my house to have a simple meal. I'll give you the walnut tree that you need. Road knew that Luoya was going to give the storage walnut tree to Lin Yuan, so he quickly slapped his thigh and said, Our Luo clan has the most walnut trees among the 4 two-star clans, except for those seedlings that I've transplanted and whose survival is uncertain. There are a total of 26 walnut trees that can produce walnuts. If you want, I can give all of these walnut trees to you. Road calculated in his heart, thinking that someone like Lin Yuan would definitely not take the Luo family's walnut tree for free. Road also didn't think that it was possible for his daughter, Roya, to be with Lin Yuan. However, through Luoya and Lin Yuan's relationship, it was still possible to climb up the tree that was Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's main purpose in going to the Divine Wood Federation this time was to obtain the storage walnut tree. This was to ensure that he could freely travel between the Radiance Federation and the Divine Wood Federation. Otherwise, when he returned this time, he would have to rely on the ethereal jellyfish's gold rank skill to harvest the condensed space crystals. Thus, Lin Yuan gladly agreed to Luo Ye's invitation. He was going to head to the Luo family's residence to take a look and see if the object-storing walnut tree was easy to nurture and how long it would take to produce a batch of object-storing walnuts. After successfully settling down in the treehouse, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie set off for the Luo family's residence. Ji Feng stayed in the treehouse and released his 2 fays, the Karma Sword Orchid and the Command Water Lotus. He also let the humanoid Karma Sword Orchid and the Command Water Lotus stay in Nanmu City to investigate the situation. One was to head to Oak City and investigate it in advance. Ji Feng took over Lu Jie's position as scout. On the one hand, he used the Karma Sword Orchid and the Command Water Lotus to investigate. On the other hand, he perfected the topographic maps of Nanmu City and Oak City. On the other hand, Lin Yuan was afraid that Su Yiren, whose soul had been injured, would have an accident if she stayed alone in Oak City for a long time. Su Yiren was a talent that Lin Yuan valued very much and was very useful for his development in the Divine Wood Federation. In particular, Su Yiren's identity as a former Dark Envoy was also equivalent to a kind of resource. If Lin Yuan wanted to target the Dark Continent, as long as Su Yiren was there, everything could be justified. The Command Water Lotus could heal soul injuries, so going to Oak City was the most suitable. Ever since Lin Yuan had treated Ji Feng, he had been cautious in the Radiance Federation. During his time in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, Ji Feng had received Lin Yuan's instructions to return to the mansion. In order to prevent being noticed by the people from the Whale Ocean Chamber of Commerce, he had hardly gone out. Now that he could send out the Karma Sword Orchid and the Command Water Lotus to move freely outside, Ji Feng felt the taste of freedom that he had not felt in a long time. After Lin Yuan and Lu Jie arrived at the Luo family, Luo Ye hurriedly set off to the backyard to pick fresh fruits. Rode arranged for the servants to prepare the meals with the highest specifications. Rode welcomed Lin Yuan to the main seat and left the second seat for Lu Jie. Rode sat in the guest seat cautiously as if Lin Yuan was the owner of this mansion. Rode, who was sitting in the guest seat, had been racking his brains on how to find a topic to chat with Lin Yuan. Rode was really afraid that if he said something wrong and offended Lin Yuan, it would bring disaster to the Luo family. Even Zhang Tong and Lord Jianli wanted to curry favor with him, so the Luo family did not have the ability to offend him. In his anxiety, Rode subconsciously took out 2 red jade-like walnuts from his sleeve. He skillfully played with them in his hand. When Lin Yuan saw what Rode was playing with, he did not immediately recognize that they were walnuts. He had sensed the spatial energy and used Morbius True Data to check the 2 red jade-like objects. Only then did he confirm that they were silver/epic walnuts. When Rode found that Lin Yuan was interested in the walnuts in his hand, the smile on his face froze and he revealed a reluctance. After hesitating for a long time, Rode gritted his teeth and handed the 2 red jade-like walnuts to Lin Yuan. "My lord, these are walnuts that I have been playing with for 7 or 8 years. They are at silver/epic. Look at this pair of walnuts. They have a big belly, high navel and smooth texture. They are a great match. If you like them, I might as well give them to you." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan immediately understood what was going on. It turned out that Rode had the habit of playing walnuts. Lin Yuan had seen normal silver walnuts before, and they were brownish-yellow in color and not very eye-catching. The reason why the walnuts in Rode's hand were red jade-like should be because he had been playing with them for 7 years. In his previous life, Lin Yuan had seen many old men holding a pair of matched walnuts in their hands and playing with them. However, in this life in the Radiance Federation, Lin Yuan had never found a group of people with such a hobby. Chapter 1396. Judging from how Rode treated the pair of walnuts as if they were his treasures, it seemed like they were Rode's treasures. Lin Yuan had always thought that the walnuts were storage tools for the Divine Wood Federation's spirit chi professionals. Now it seemed that the walnuts had other additional values. If it was only used as a storage tool, naturally the higher the grade of the walnut, the stronger its storage ability. After listening to Luo Ye's introduction of the walnuts along the way, Lin Yuan found that they really had an advantage compared to the Fey storage box. When the walnut's quality was promoted to legend, it would automatically divide into many core rooms, and each core room could store a living Fey. This ability to automatically divide space was not available in the Fey storage box produced by Ostrich Logistics. Of course, this characteristic of the walnut also made it necessary to do Fey trading in the Divine Wood Federation. There had to be a legend walnut. This made it necessary to have a very high threshold to do Fey trading in the Divine Wood Federation. Only major factions could do it. The higher the grade of the Fey, the easier it was to reach legend. A diamond/legend walnut tree required a Class 3 creation master to carefully nurture it for a long time. Moreover, the walnut could only be used a limited number of times. Each time it was accessed, it would consume the storage energy in the walnut. This made the walnut a consumable even if it reached diamond/legend. Lin Yuan had no interest in the walnut that Rode was going to give him. In the end, playing with the walnut was to let the skin and the walnut come into full contact. The walnut absorbed the grease from the player's hand and changed its appearance. Lin Yuan did not want to use his palm to feel something that had been soaked in the man's sweat for 7 years. Even if the appearance of this pair of walnuts was not bad, a Class 2 creation master would not be able to nurture a silver/epic object holding walnut. To nurture a silver/epic walnut, one would need at least a low-rank Class 4 creation master. There were no low-rank Class 4 creation masters in Nammu City. This meant that this pair of silver/epic walnuts must have been bought by Rode at a high price. Lin Yuan thought about the pursuit of walnuts by those antique enthusiasts in his previous life. Lin Yuan roughly speculated that the price of the walnuts should be the lower the grade and the higher the quality, the more expensive it would be. Perhaps the low-level, high-quality walnut itself was a luxury in the Divine Wood Federation. Lin Yuan intended to ask Rode about this conjecture. If that was the case, it would be the same as Lin Yuan finding a way to make money. I have my own pet. Since you've been playing with this pair of walnuts for 7 years, it's enough to show your love for this pair of walnuts. I never do things that take away other people's love. The base of your object storing walnuts is silver/epic. I wonder how much a pair of silver/epic object storing walnuts are worth. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Road revealed a surprised expression. Walnuts were very popular in the Divine Wood Federation. Patriarchs and direct descendants of clans with a bit of status would definitely get a pair of walnut plates to play with. Speaking of the silver/epic quality walnut, he still felt his heart ache at the thought of it. For the sake of this pair of walnuts, Road basically used half of the Luo family's resources as a bargaining chip. In the end, he snatched the pair of silver/epic walnuts from the hands of the Meng family head. Because of this, the Luo family and the Meng family became enemies. The Luo family and the Meng family had been fighting for the past 7 years, and they had often tried to trip each other up. It was precisely because of the dispute over this pair of object-storing walnuts. However, this pair of object-storing walnuts had been fought over many times when Road had attended gatherings. It had helped Road gain face. If Lin Yuan was from the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan, it was impossible for him not to know the price of the object-storing walnuts. Although the object-storing walnuts were popular in the Divine Wood Federation, the creation masters who really cultivated them were often the creation masters of the Deep Brahmin Federation. The creation masters of the Divine Wood Federation set up their own clans, and their time and experience were used to improve their clan's strength. They simply did not have that many resources to tilt on toys like the object-storing walnuts. If they were to be attacked because they were weaker than other creation master clans because of cultivating the object-storing walnuts, that would truly be losing their will to play with toys. Just as Road had some doubts about Lin Yuan, his gaze fell on Lin Yuan's belt. Lin Yuan's belt immediately dispelled Road's doubts. To be able to use such a luxurious item, who else could this white-clothed youth be if not a member of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan? Road explained. In order to exchange for low-grade and high-quality object-storing walnuts, one usually has to exchange items. If I have to convert them into Deep Brahmin dollars, I spent 8 million Deep Brahmin dollars when I bought this pair of object-storing walnuts. Upon hearing Road's price, Lin Yuan secretly clicked his tongue. The price of the object-storing walnuts was really high. The purchasing power of the Deep Brahmin dollars and Radiance dollars was basically equal. 8 million Radiance dollars could buy a relatively ordinary silver/epic Fey in the Radiance Federation. On the way from the Nanmu Square to the Luo family's residence, Lin Yuan had paid special attention to the Divine Wood Federation's prices. In terms of other items, the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation's prices were basically the same. However, there was such a huge difference in the purchasing power of the object-storing walnuts. On the one hand, the object-storing walnuts were indeed too popular in the Divine Wood Federation. On the other hand, it showed that the Divine Wood Federation's high-class creation masters were indeed in short supply. Lin Yuan thought to himself, can I empty the entire Divine Wood Federation's resources with just low-grade and high-quality object-storing walnuts? Not to mention the bronze/epic object-storing walnuts. Even if Lin Yuan wanted to take out the bronze/legend object-storing walnuts, it would be a piece of cake. However, in the Divine Wood Federation, Lin Yuan would not take out the bronze/legend object-storing walnuts. The bronze/legend object-storing walnuts were equivalent to telling the people of the Agawan continent. This world had the existence of the bronze/legend object-storing walnut tree. The existence of the bronze/legend object-storing walnut tree was equivalent to a Class 5 creation master. The appearance of a Class 5 creation master would make the imperial courts of the 3 major federations feel unprecedented pressure. At that time, the appearance of a Class 5 creation master might not necessarily become a common target of the 3 major federations. He might become the common enemy of the 3 major federations. This was completely unnecessary for Lin Yuan. However, if he only took out the bronze/epic object-storing walnuts, he would not have so many concerns. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Road continue speaking. I heard that a pair of silver/legend object-storing walnuts appeared in Oak City. That pair of silver/legend object-storing walnuts was auctioned for a high price of 31 million Deep Brahmin dollars. In the end, It was auctioned to Oak City's second-largest family, the Fan family. Chapter 1397. At this point, Rode paused for a moment before speaking with a rather longing tone. If it's a pair of bronze/epic walnuts, the price will increase by at least 10 million Brahmin coins. It may also attract the members of the major families in Holy Forest City to appear and compete for it. Rode couldn't stop talking and asked Lin Yuan curiously, "Sir, you said you also have a hobby. I wonder if you can take out your hobby and let me have an eye-opener." As soon as he finished speaking, Rode immediately realized that there was something wrong with what he had said. He had really eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. What was the identity of this white-clothed youth? How could he dare to ask to see the white-clothed youth's hobby? Lin Yuan didn't blame Rode, but he couldn't take out his hobby in front of Rode. He wasn't afraid of Rode seeing it, but he was afraid of scaring him after seeing it. His string of elemental pearls made from Goddess Gerbera and Lan Lanshan pearls was a treasure that even Class 5 creation masters couldn't nurture. As long as Lin Yuan took out such a thing in the Divine Wood Federation, he would immediately become the target of public criticism. Rode felt that he had violated a taboo and didn't dare to continue speaking. Luoya had already walked over with a fruit platter. There were only a small portion of all kinds of fruits in the fruit platter. More than 30 kinds of fresh fruits were placed in the fruit platter, giving off a tempting fruity fragrance. The entire room was filled with the sweet fragrance of flowers and fruits. The crushed ice at the bottom of the bowl and plate made these freshly picked fruits look more moist. Lin Yuan thought, the Divine Wood Federation is indeed a federation rich in plant phase. Lin Yuan hadn't eaten a small half of the fruits in this fruit platter. He could take a part of the phase that produced these fruits and cultivate them in the swamp world as a food-type material reserve. After Luoya put the fruit platter on the table, she took out 2 small trees that were 4 meters tall. Although these 2 small trees were only 4 meters tall, the diameter of the tree trunk was nearly half a meter long. 2 people needed to stretch their arms together to hug the tree trunk. The thickness of such a tree trunk was not proportional to its height. It made the 2 small trees look a little funny. However, Lin Yuan knew that after the height of a tree reached a certain level, there would be no obvious change. The thickness of the trunk had a lot to do with the age of the tree. With a diameter of nearly half a meter, it meant that these 2 walnut trees might really be 300 years old, just as Rode said. Lin Yuan didn't stand on ceremony and accepted the 2 walnut trees that Luoya had given him. During the meal, Lin Yuan deliberately asked Luoya if she had a fei like the clear yang flower that could produce chi phenomena. What surprised Lin Yuan was that the Luo family didn't have such a fei. However, he found out from Luoya where to obtain the clear yang flower, mist windgrass, snow crystal orchid fog sunflower, and other feis that could change the weather. Such feis were usually used by Class 3 creation masters and above to decorate gardens or indoor environments. 7 years ago, the Luo clan had a few pots of snow crystal orchids and fog sunflowers. However, these snow crystal orchids and fog sunflowers were exchanged for the pair of silver/epic walnuts. From Luoya's words, he knew that this fei that could produce weather changes was not cheap. However, regardless of whether it was noble or lowly, Lin Yuan did not take it to heart. In any case, no matter how expensive it was, the bronze/epic walnuts could easily be settled. After understanding the value of feis that could produce weather changes, Lin Yuan did not intend to ask Zhang Tong and Jian Li again during the evening reception. Since the Luo family could obtain such things before, it meant that they were not considered rare. In a big city like Oak City, he could use the sincere merchant caravan's relationship with equivalent money or supplies. He could easily obtain large quantities from the deep frost chamber of commerce. At that time, even if Gray did not absorb the outside world's chi phenomena, it could still smoothly increase its strength. After the meal, Lin Yuan rejected Luoya and Rode's invitation to stay. After making an appointment to go to the Zhang family at night, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie returned to the treehouse where they were staying. Lin Yuan immediately entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone and prepared to study how to nurture these 2 walnut trees. Chime had left the range of Hui's coverage. Chime, which was in the Divine Wood Federation, started a live broadcast. Chime, which could not live broadcast, tried its best to stay on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, absorbing the energy in the exceptional fire to temper itself. In order to reach Myth 2 as soon as possible and transform into a human form, Chime had to do its best. Lin Yuan knew that Chime was working hard and wanted to hold a fan meeting. Genius and the wind-speed rapid antelope were playing with a cloud of mist. The wind-speed rapid antelope stood in front of Genius to prevent the cloud from touching Genius. It was like a game of eagle catching a chick. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had arrived in the spirit lock spatial zone, the cloud of mist immediately rushed toward him. Lin Yuan opened his hands and closed them when the mist was close. All of a sudden he hugged Gray to his chest. Lin Yuan said as he stroked Gray's wings. Gray, wait for another 2 days. Even if you don't exit the spirit lock spatial zone, you will be able to increase your strength in the spirit lock spatial zone. When you reach Diamond X/Legend and comprehend the willpower rune, you will become a fantasy breed. When you go to the outside world to absorb the atmosphere, you will be shielded by the will of the world. You don't have to worry about being discovered. When Gray heard Lin Yuan's words, it happily flopped around in Lin Yuan's arms and played to its heart's content. At that moment, Genius arrived beside Lin Yuan. After carefully inspecting the 2 walnut trees beside Lin Yuan's hand, he said, I'm not sure if I'll be able to find them. Lin Yuan, nurturing these 2 walnut trees doesn't require pure spirit qi at all times like nurturing the elemental shellfish. If you want the material-containing walnut tree to bear more material-containing walnuts, all you need to do is to constantly provide the material-containing walnut tree with nutritious liquid. App, it's really not bad. It's worth installing. It actually supports both Android and Apple phones. Currently, Fat Orange and I have buried over 40 types of swamp soil on each hectare of land in the swamp world. It's just right to use this land to nurture the walnut trees. If we use the life-form sacrificial fire to roast these walnut trees, we will be able to produce a batch of fruits in a week. But it will take at least a month for the fruits to ripen. Lin Yuan had a delighted expression. With Genius around, it saved him the trouble of using true data to investigate the walnut trees. If the walnut trees could really produce fruits within 7 days, even if the fruits were not ripe, they still contained sufficient spatial energy. It was enough for Lin Yuan to use as a consumable to travel between the Radiance Federation and the Mysterious Federation through the spatial tunnel. Luoya, if he plucked the fruits before they were ripe, he wouldn't be able to obtain a complete walnut tree. Lin Yuan didn't mind at all. Of the 2 walnut trees that Luoya had given Lin Yuan, one had fruits while the other didn't. Lin Yuan stored the object walnut tree into the diamond face storage box and handed it to Genius. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1398. He planned to let Genius nurture it in the swamp world. As for this walnut tree with fruits, Lin Yuan planned to take care of it personally. He nurtured it all the way to Bronze X/Epic. When the walnut tree was upgraded, the quality of the fruits would also be upgraded. This way Lin Yuan would have the first batch of high-quality bronze object walnuts. He circulated his spiritual power and placed his palm on the abnormally thick trunk of the object storage walnut tree. In just a few minutes, the walnut tree's quality had risen from common to epic. The fruits that had been produced were even more plump than before, and their volume had also increased by a size. When a walnut is ripe, its surface will be covered with a layer of green peel. Only when this layer of green peel was removed could the original appearance of the walnut be revealed. Lin Yuan counted and found that there were exactly 60 walnuts on this walnut tree. If he was lucky, he should be able to get 30 pairs. He naturally did not need to personally peel off the fruit. Lin Yuan said to the wind-speed rapid antelope. Wind-speed rapid antelope, use your wind blades to cut down these walnuts from the trees. Then use the storm to pick up the walnuts that have fallen to the ground. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, the wind-speed rapid antelope immediately took action. The material of the walnut was extremely hard. Even if the wind-speed rapid antelope used its full strength, it would still find it hard to leave a mark on the walnut. However, the green peel that covered the walnut was soft. Under the attack of the wind-speed rapid antelope's storm, the green peel would be completely peeled off by the storm. It kept the walnut in an unusually clean state. Soon the green peel was torn into dust by the storm. 60 scarlet walnuts were spinning in the air. The sizes of these walnuts were similar, but the patterns were different. Thus he did not need to spend much effort on matchmaking. He would be able to concoct 30 pairs of bronze/epic walnuts. Lin Yuan smacked his lips as he looked at the vermilion walnuts. The bronze/epic walnut storage and the bronze walnut storage that Lin Yuan had seen before were simply two different things. If this kind of vermilion object was played on a walnut plate, it was very likely that it would be coiled into a bright red color with a golden luster. No wonder he was so sought after by the nobles in the Divine Wood Federation. After putting away these 30 pairs of bronze/epic walnuts, he tried to cut off a branch and injected a large amount of pure spirit chi into it. Within a few minutes, the branch that contained the walnut had grown a dense growth of fine roots. As he continued to strengthen it, it grew into a normal walnut tree. In the end, he raised it all the way to bronze/flawless. After Lin Yuan had split and nurtured the object-containing walnut tree, its height would be the same as Luo Ye's object-containing walnut tree. However, the trunk was only as thick as Lin Yuan's wrist. This made him realize that the object-containing walnut tree that he had nurtured with pure spirit chi could not replace the object-containing walnut tree that had grown naturally for over 300 years. This was the accumulation of lifespan, and it was not something that could be achieved overnight with the cultivation of pure spiritual energy. This was another layer of charm that life bestowed to Phase. Lin Yuan put the bronze/flawless object-containing walnut tree that he had just nurtured into the Phase storage box and thought to himself, if I want to nurture an object-containing walnut tree, I still have to have the Luo family's object-containing walnut tree that has grown for a certain age. He looked at the time and found that there was only half an hour left before the appointed time. He hurriedly left the spirit lock spatial zone. He found that Lu Jie and Ji Feng had both taken off their black armor and black robes. They had changed into a set of gorgeous clothes suitable for attending banquets. Since they were attending a banquet, wearing gorgeous clothes was the most basic banquet etiquette. Wearing gorgeous clothes had nothing to do with whether the banquet was important or not. It was just a manifestation of personal cultivation. This was what Lin Yuan and Lu Jie had learned when chatting with the sincere E-Caravan. It was the common local customs of the Divine Wood Federation or the entire Agon continent. At that moment, Lu Jie was wearing a purple ceremonial robe with an embroidered copper cauldron embellished with hundreds of insect beast totems. Ji Feng was wearing a dark blue ceremonial robe embroidered with waves patterns and WRs leaping in the waves patterns. Since Lu Jie and Ji Feng had chosen dark colors, Lin Yuan took out the clothes that when you had known he was coming to the Divine Wood Federation. They were specially designed according to the Divine Wood Federation's aesthetic standards. This luxurious robe was the same as the spirit chi clothing that Lin Yuan had worn before, which was white. However, all the edges of this ceremonial robe that needed to be sewn with silk threads were added with a circle of black tiger fur on the neck of the diamond/fantasy breed dark-eyed scorpion tiger. The white was elegant and the black was grand. The black tiger fur and the white brocade collided, giving this luxurious robe an indescribable noble aura. The white brocade robe was pieced together with the scales of the dark-eyed scorpion tiger's tail into a black mountain stream. The center of the mountain stream was embroidered with white moonstone into a majestic white tiger. The middle of the moonstone was covered with a layer of fine black tiger fur. These black tiger hairs seemed to have drawn tiger stripes in the white moonstone. The upper half of the brocade robe had a white tiger roar that shook the valley, while the lower half was embroidered with 34 kinds of tiger totems using completely jade-textured white sandalwood. These embroideries using completely jade-textured white sandalwood on the white brocade were extremely inconspicuous and difficult to be seen at a glance. However, Lin Yuan's moon-white boots were also inlaid with 2 pearls polished with nightmare gold. Nightmare spirit gold was an extremely expensive consumable type of spirit material. It would slowly release spirit energy into the surroundings. The spirit chi released by the nightmare spirit stone was enough to make the lower half of the brocade robe completely jade-textured, and the 34 kinds of tiger totems embroidered with white sandalwood emitted a jade-textured glow. After changing into this robe, Lin Yuan left the room and prepared to meet Lu Jie and Ji Feng. Lu Jie was used to seeing Lin Yuan's handsome appearance. Lin Yuan was also a natural clothes rack. Even if he wore casual clothes, he wouldn't be able to stand out. Even if he wore ordinary clothes, his temperament would not be much worse than wearing luxurious clothes. Lu Jie was used to Lin Yuan. However, Ji Feng, who had little contact with Lin Yuan, was stunned when he saw Lin Yuan wearing luxurious clothes. Looking at the youthful Lin Yuan, Ji Feng suddenly thought of himself when he was 17 or 18 years old. At that time he had also been the Radiance Federation's top genius and had been proud of his talent. However, compared to the current Lin Yuan, he was really not good enough. After 10 years of fleeing, Ji Feng knew very little about the Radiance Federation's younger generation. Ji Feng did not know if the current younger generation was as outstanding as Lin Yuan, or if Lin Yuan had already led the Radiance Federation's younger generation. Along the way from the treehouse to the Luo residence, the passers-by's eyes lit up when they saw Lin Yuan and his group. The people who lived in Nanma City had never seen such a celestial being. Chapter 1399. However, these pedestrians didn't dare to look at Lin Yuan boldly. In the Divine Wood Federation, peeking at nobles and making them uncomfortable would result in punishment. No one was willing to cause unnecessary trouble because of a few more glances. If Lin Yuan wasn't so stunning, these pedestrians might have lowered their heads and hurried away when they saw him. Luo Ye had dressed up carefully for the reception at the Zhang family's auditorium. When she went to welcome Lin Yuan, Luo Ye had already put on makeup. She had even used the most expensive cosmetics in her hands. However, in order to present her best state, Luo Ye still removed the makeup she had previously put on. Then she put on a more detailed makeup and even drew an exquisite blue flower on her forehead. Looking at herself in the mirror, Luo Ye's mouth curled up in satisfaction. Then she took her favorite purple fur and gently combed it with a comb. However, the more she combed the purple fur, the heavier her mood became. Luo Ye thought of the white spirit chi clothes and the priceless belt on his waist when she saw Lin Yuan today. If she put on the purple fur and stood next to Lin Yuan, she would look like a poor girl. This purple fur was silently telling Luo Ye how big the gap between her and Lin Yuan was. Fortunately, after Luo Ye recognized the reality, her thoughts changed slightly. She was no longer thinking about how to like Lin Yuan, but how to ride on Lin Yuan's chariot forever. Given Lin Yuan's identity and strength, he had the absolute right to speak in Nanma City. If Lin Yuan was interested in Nanma City, could the Luo family become Lin Yuan's representative? Could they help Lin Yuan deal with matters related to Nanma City? This way she could at least use this opportunity to keep in touch with Lin Yuan. Before Luo Ye could put on the purple fur, she heard Rhode's voice coming from the door. "Little Ye, Lord Lin Yuan is here. Hurry up and pack up." Luo Ye could clearly hear the shock in Rhode's tone. Luo Ye didn't care so much and ran out with the purple fur. As soon as she saw Lin Yuan, Luo Ye couldn't move her eyes away from him. He was an elegant young master in a snow-white coat and black fur coat. He had an elegant appearance and a calm expression, showing the demeanor of a noble. This made Luo Ye subconsciously hide her favorite purple fur behind her. When Lin Yuan saw Luo Ye's reaction, he stepped forward and shook his hand. A light purple fur coat appeared in Lin Yuan's hands. Lin Yuan said as he handed the light purple fur coat to Luo Ye. "This fur coat came from a diamond purple plum jumping deer. This fur coat is enough for you to make a cloak before the banquet. Take it as a thank you gift for the 2 walnut trees you gave me." When Luo Ye heard his words, she suddenly felt a little sour in her heart. He had only given Lin Yuan 2 bronze/normal objects containing walnut trees. However, Lin Yuan had returned the diamond fey fur coat to her as a gift. This meant that Lin Yuan did not want to have anything to do with him. In the end, Luo Ye reached out her hand and took the lavender fur coat from Lin Yuan with slightly red eyes. "Thank you. I've wanted to give you those 2 walnut trees for a long time. You saved my life before. No matter what, I owe you a favor." While Luo Ye was feeling increasingly bitter, Rode was beaming with joy. 2 bronze normal quality walnut trees were exchanged for a diamond fur coat. This was a great deal. From this point alone, Rode could tell that Lin Yuan was a very generous person. Or it could be said that a diamond fur coat was nothing to him. He was wondering if there was anything else he could give to Lin Yuan. While exchanging for some precious resources from Lin Yuan said, "You're right. You said that the Luo family has a total of 26 walnut trees. Are these walnut trees more than 300 years old? If these walnut trees are more than 300 years old, I want to trade this one for the 26 walnut trees of your Luo family." After saying that, he took out the bronze X/flawless walnut tree that he had just nurtured in the spirit lock spatial zone from the diamond face storage box. When he saw that Lin Yuan had taken out a walnut tree with such a thin trunk, he was shocked. Rode was a little disappointed. A walnut tree with such a thin trunk was less than 5 years old. A walnut tree that was less than 5 years old could not bear walnuts. What was the use of holding such a walnut tree in his hand? But when Rode took a closer look at the walnut tree in Lin Yuan's hand, which was only as thick as a wrist, Rode could not help but take a deep breath. Then his face revealed an ecstatic expression. Lord Lin Yuan, are you sure you want to use this bronze/flawless walnut tree to exchange for our Luo family's 26 walnut trees? A bronze/flawless walnut tree would definitely bear bronze/flawless walnut trees. A bronze/flawless walnut tree could only be nurtured by a Class 3 creation master. Lin Yuan was using something of this level to exchange for his family's walnut tree. He had picked up a big bargain. This bronze/flawless walnut tree that was as thick as a wrist would become the Luo family's real money tree after a few years of nurturing. Although bronze/flawless walnuts were not as expensive as silver/epic walnuts, it would not be difficult for them to be auctioned for 3 million deep Brahmin coins. It would not be difficult for a pair to be auctioned for 3 million deep Brahmin coins. Rode had already thought of releasing the news that the Luo family had a bronze/flawless walnut tree. In Nanma City and the surrounding cities, there would be many people breaking their heads to order a pair of bronze/flawless walnuts from him. Rode immediately went to the backyard and uprooted all 26 walnut trees. Looking at the 26 walnut trees that Rode had given him, Lin Yuan found that 8 of them bore fruit. Therefore Lin Yuan left the 8 object walnut trees that bore fruits behind. He then placed the remaining 18 walnut trees in the spirit lock spatial zone and asked Genius to bring them to the swamp world to be planted. As for these 8 walnut trees that bore fruit, Lin Yuan planned to nurture them to epic quality first. He would then give them to Genius to bring to the swamp world to nurture. The bronze/epic walnut tree that Lin Yuan had just enhanced had borne 60 walnuts for him. Including the walnuts produced by these 8 walnut trees, Lin Yuan should have 540 bronze/epic walnuts in his hand. That was 270 pairs. The rarer something was, the greater its value. Every pair of bronze/epic walnuts had a sky-high price in the Divine Wood Federation. 270 pairs of walnuts were enough for Lin Yuan to use for a long time. End of this chapter. Chapter 1400. In less than half an hour, Luo Ye had changed into a fur cloak and boots made from the Luo family's tailor's diamond purple plum jumping deer fur. After changing into clothes made from diamond fei fur, Luo Ye looked much better than before. After all, the fur of the diamond purple plum jumping deer was comparable to the white fur coat that Jian Li was wearing. It might even be better than Jian Li's fur coat. Under Luo Ye and Rode's lead, Lin Yuan did not ride Blackie. Instead, he rode on Lu Jie's hurricane owlet moths. The 4 hurricane owlet moths controlled the wind elements around Lin Yuan and carried him forward in the air. It was as though Lin Yuan was standing in the air. In Lin Yuan's opinion, this was a very low-key travel method, but in Rode and Luo Ye's eyes, it was shocking. Along the way, Rode and Luo Ye were constantly amazed by Lin Yuan's and Lu Jie's foundation. The 3 of them used 12 diamond moth fays as transportation. These 12 moth fays were not fantasy breeds and could not compare to the Black Flood Dragon. However, it was absolutely unimaginable for Rode and Luo Ye who lived in Nanma City. Was this the life of a hidden aristocratic clan's descendant? 2 sets of clothes of immeasurable value and 2 traveling methods that involved diamond fays in a day. This was simply too luxurious and extravagant. Jian Li, Zhang Tong, and the Zhang family's patriarch were waiting outside the auditorium to welcome Lin Yuan. For this reception, Zhang Tong and the Zhang family's patriarch had changed into the luxurious clothes that they usually wore when attending grand gatherings. However, after seeing Lin Yuan, Jifeng, and Lu Jia, Jian Li, Zhang Tong and the others suddenly felt that there was actually no difference whether they wore luxurious clothes or not. That was right, their luxurious clothes could not even compare to the casual clothes they wore during the day. There was nothing to be ashamed of if they could not compare to luxurious clothes. The way the 3 of them dressed and traveled to this banquet let everyone present know who the real distinguished guests of this banquet were. After receiving Zhang Tong's call, the Zhang family's patriarch Zhang Xian was very disappointed with Jian Li's approach. During this period of time, Zhang Xian had been weighing the pros and cons of relying on the Jian family. From the rotten venomous snake flood dragon incident, it was enough to show that relying on the Jian family was not reliable at all. At a critical moment, the Zhang family was likely to be abandoned by the Jian family. The reason why the Zhang family relied on the Jian family was to seek development. If the Jian family couldn't meet the expectations of the Zhang family, no matter how powerful the Jian family was, there was no need for the Zhang family to rely on the Jian family. Of course, he still had to keep up appearances and lick Jian Li's boots. It was better not to let Jian Li notice anything. The night was waning and the nightmare spirit gold beads embedded on Lin Yuan's white boots released spirit qi that permeated the 34 tiger-shaped totems embroidered with completely jade-textured white sandalwood patterns. It made Lin Yuan feel as though 34 white tigers with different postures were crawling under his feet. With every step Lin Yuan took, he would have an indescribable aura. It was as if a white tiger was accompanying him. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Zhang Tong prepared to welcome him as the host. However, just as Zhang Tong was about to step forward, he was stopped by Jian Li. Jian Li quickly stepped forward and walked to Lin Yuan's side. "How should I address you, young master?" Young master's attire is really a little out of place in Nanmu City. Even in Holy Forest City, young master's luxurious attire is definitely like this. As he spoke, Jian Li gave Lin Yuan a thumbs up with a bright smile on his face, making it clear that he wanted to befriend Lin Yuan. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan couldn't help but raise his brows. This set of luxurious attire could only be considered to be above average among all of his clothes. Wen Yu had recently made a lot of clothes for Lin Yuan, and those clothes were even embroidered with heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Compared to those, this set of luxurious attire was much inferior. Jian Li's words definitely had some suspicion that he was trying to befriend and curry favor with Lin Yuan. However, Jian Li's words were enough for Lin Yuan to understand the living conditions of those aristocrats in the Divine Wood Federation's capital, Holy Forest City. As the 83rd sequence of the Divine Wood 100, the people Jian Li came into contact with were definitely not the top of the Divine Wood Federation. However, Jian Li's words just now showed that he had seen similar luxurious attire. This was enough to prove that the aristocrats of the Divine Wood Federation were extravagant. However, the more extravagant these aristocrats were, the better it was. The more extravagant these noble descendants were, the more expensive the bronze/epic walnuts in Lin Yuan's hands would be. Lin Yuan didn't ignore Jian Li's goodwill. "My surname is Lin," Jian Li replied with a smile. "Young Master Lin, today at Nanmu Square, everything was a misunderstanding. Please don't take it to heart. If young Master Lin goes to St. Forest City in the future, please inform me. Who knows, I might be able to help young Master Lin in some matters." Jian Li went straight to the point and expressed his purpose. Because Jian Li knew that a person who could wear such luxurious clothes wouldn't be in the mood to chat with him. If he didn't get to the point, he might be annoyed. Jian Li did not clearly state his identity in this sentence. However, Luoya had already told Lin Yuan about her identity. Jian Li's seemingly friendly words indicated what he could do for Lin Yuan if they were friends. This way of communication was very popular among the nobles of the Divine Wood Federation. Lin Yuan was originally thinking about how to get in touch with Jian Li at the banquet. Now he hadn't done anything and Jian Li had taken the initiative to make friends with him. "I'll go to St. Forest City in the future. If there's anything, I naturally won't be polite and will trouble young Master Jian." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's response, Jian Li hurriedly turned sideways and said, "The Zhang family's banquet is well organized. I deliberately asked the Zhang family to add a few dishes. Young Master Lin, take a look and see if they suit your taste." While turning sideways, Jian Li's gaze landed on Luoya. With just one glance, Jian Li could see how extraordinary the purple fur cloak on Luoya was. The dark purple cloak that Luoya had been wearing had rough and dry fur, making her look like a country girl. But now Luoya's light purple fur coat actually emitted a faint light purple soft light against the starlight in the night. It seemed that the light purple fur coat on Luoya was definitely from a diamond fae. It was impossible for the Luo family to obtain such a fur coat. A platinum ferocious beast was enough to destroy the Luo family. Luo Ye had just invited Lin Yuan to the Luo family as a guest in the morning, and she was now wearing such a diamond light purple fur coat. The origin of this light purple fur coat was self-evident. Jianli sighed inwardly at the Luo family's good luck. A diamond rank fur coat of such quality would cost at least 1 million Brahmin coins to bid for. As a direct descendant of an aristocratic family in St. Forest City, the fur coat he used was only of this standard. End of this chapter. Chapter 1401. Zhang Tong and Zhang Exin had already noticed the light purple fur coat that Luo Ye was wearing. Zhang Exin immediately understood how he should treat the Luo family in the future. In the future, the Luo family would have to support this Nanmuqing. However, before Zhang Exin and Zhang Tong could feel envious of the Luo clan, they were infuriated by Jian Li's words. This was an apology reception hosted by the Zhang family to welcome young Master Lin. Zhang Tong had wanted to apologize earlier, but you had stopped him. Now it was as if you, Jian Li, had become the host of the banquet. What do you mean you deliberately added a lot to this banquet? You never showed up in the hall all afternoon. This cocktail party that the Zhang family had arranged with real money had instead become a wedding dress for Jian Li. This caused Zhang Tong and Zhang Exin to feel even more indignant. However, neither of them had the guts to show their dissatisfaction to Jian Li. However, this also made Zhang Tong realize that it wasn't just the Jian family that he couldn't rely on. Jian Li was also a person that he definitely couldn't befriend. After entering the auditorium, Lin Yuan realized that apart from all kinds of spirit fruits, there were all kinds of roasted spirit beast meat. When paired with the red and yellow sauce, Lin Yuan didn't have much of an appetite. Lin Yuan, who had come to the Divine Wood Federation to train for a period of time, had eaten barbecue many times. Compared to the barbecued meat and spirit fruits, Lin Yuan preferred to eat the exquisite side dishes and snacks made by Lu Jia and Zhong Zhe. Jian Li stood by Lin Yuan's side for the entire night, thinking of ways to strike up a conversation with Lin Yuan and speculating his identity. He wanted to see which hidden aristocratic clan in the Deep Lush Federation he came from. However, the more he tried, the more dizzy Jian Li felt. Sensing that Lu Jia was obviously a little impatient, Jian Li walked up to the Zhang family's head, Zhang Exin. He was prepared to discuss the cooperation with Zhang Exin. Upon seeing Jian Li leave Lin Yuan's side, Zhang Tong hurried over. He bowed deeply to Lin Yuan and said, "You're right. Young Master Lin, thank you for forgiving the corrosive serpent flood dragon at the Namu Square. This is an apology gift from my father." After saying that, Zhang Tong took out a wooden box and solemnly handed it to Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan saw the wooden box that Zhang Tong handed over, he revealed a playful expression. Lin Yuan had long seen through the twists and turns on the Nanmu Plaza. If he didn't have the strength, he was afraid that after the rotten snake Jiao dragon ate Luo Ye and rode, he wouldn't be able to survive. He would also become a meal for the corrosive venomous flood dragon. This apology cocktail prepared for him would become Jian Li's welcoming party. At this time he might have already been pulled out by the corrosive poisonous flood dragon. Ji Feng, who was standing behind Lin Yuan, stepped forward and opened the wooden box in Zhang Tong's hand. Lin Yuan found a pair of bronze/flawless object storage walnuts lying in this wooden box. It was likely that the Zhang family's patriarch Zhang Exin had personally nurtured it. A pair of apologetic items worth around 3 million Brahmin coins was enough to show the sincerity of the Zhang family. However, Lin Yuan was not interested in this pair of bronze/flawless object-holding walnuts. Lin Yuan reached out to grab the pair of walnuts and played with them. The two walnuts collided and let out a crisp sound. Upon seeing Lin Yuan take the pair of walnuts, Zhang Tong's face immediately lit up. However, when Zhang Tong looked up, he saw Lin Yuan throw the pair of bronze/flawless object-holding walnuts back to him. "I'm not interested in your Zhang family's apologetic gift. This banquet is so boring. If there's nothing else, we'll take our leave." Lin Yuan said this because this cocktail party was indeed boring. Secondly, Lin Yuan wanted to use this method to force Zhang Tong to reveal the Zhang family's purpose as soon as possible. If the Zhang family had no purpose, there would be no need to give him an apologetic gift. Since they wanted to give an apologetic gift to build a relationship, the Zhang family must have a motive. On the way from the underground palace to Nanmu City, Lin Yuan realized that Nanmu City's geographical location was very special. Outside Nanmu City was a boundless ironwood forest, which was considered a kind of cash crop. However, the ironwood's roots could penetrate 100 meters into the ground. In addition, it was very difficult for phase below silver to cut off a branch from the ironwood forest. This made it very difficult for Nanmu City to expand. As a result, Nanmu City became the southernmost border city of the Divine Wood Federation. One side of Nanmu City was a high mountain while the other side was a rapid river. This made Nanmu City an isolated city between two natural barriers. In the future, once the forbidden area created by Silver Splendor was discovered by the world, the Divine Wood Federation's experts would want to explore the forbidden area. The only choice would be Nanmu City. As for the Iron Hammer Federation, Lin Yuan already had plans to borrow Teray's Iron Hoof tribe to apply to the Iron Hammer dynasty to divide the territory and build a majestic city. When the majestic city was built, the Iron Hammer Federation's people would want to explore the forbidden area. They would definitely rest in the city built by the Iron Hoof tribe. If Lin Yuan could control Nanmu City again, then the Iron Hammer Federation and the Divine Wood Federation would have any plans for the forbidden area. Lin Yuan would be able to know the news in advance and respond. Therefore, the moment he arrived at Nanmu City, Lin Yuan had the idea of controlling Nanmu City. If the Zhang family's request was helpful to his plan, Lin Yuan didn't mind helping the Zhang family. If the Zhang family's plan was different from his, Lin Yuan could completely suppress the Zhang family and help the Luo family rise. In the face of the walnut that Lin Yuan threw back, Zhang Tong hurriedly bowed and caught it. He was afraid that the sound of the walnut falling on the ground would attract Jian Li's attention. His father hadn't been able to tactfully reject the cooperation with Jian Li yet. If Jian Li knew that he was trying to rope in Lin Yuan, the Jian family would definitely become enemies with the Zhang family. Lin Yuan said that this reception was boring, which made Zhang Tong very anxious. Zhang Tong was still full of confidence. After all, he really couldn't think of anyone who would reject a gift of 2 or 3 million deep Brahmin coins. Lin Yuan's refusal made Zhang Tong panic for a moment. His request to Lin Yuan concerned the Zhang family's future. Once the opportunity slipped away, it would never come back. Zhang Tong steeled his heart and said frankly, "Young Master Lin, the Zhang family would like to discuss a cooperation with you." "Young Master Lin, the Zhang family would like to discuss a cooperation with you." "Young Master Lin, our Zhang family will provide resources for our Chamber of Commerce, and our Creation Master resources will all be at your service." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan took out a pair of bronze/epic walnuts from the diamond face storage box. The vermilion walnuts rotated in Lin Yuan's palm and collided with each other, emitting a jade-like sound. Zhang Tong was stunned when he saw the walnuts that Lin Yuan had just taken out. "I can't be mistaken, right? This is actually a pair of bronze/epic walnuts." Zhang Tong originally thought that Lin Yuan wasn't interested in his walnuts because he didn't have the habit of playing with walnuts as a member of the Deep Brahmin Federation. He had given the wrong gift. Only now did Zhang Tong realize that Lin Yuan simply didn't like his gift. Chapter 1402. However, he didn't know that the pair of bronze/epic walnuts that Lin Yuan had taken out had been auctioned for a high price. Or was it because Lin Yuan had the resources of a Class 4 creation master that could nurture a bronze/epic walnut tree? Looking at Lin Yuan's luxurious clothes, Zhang Tong felt that the latter was possible. The Deep Enlightenment Federation's hidden aristocratic clans all had the habit of spending a lot of money to consecrate high-class creation masters. Zhang Tong was afraid and excited at the same time. If the Zhang clan's cooperation with the Jian clan was like asking a tiger for its skin, then cooperating with Lin Yuan was like asking for a living under a giant dragon. Asking a tiger for its skin, as long as there was an opportunity, one could still escape unscathed. However, if one were to make a living under a giant dragon, a single sneeze from the giant dragon would shatter one's body. Only a giant dragon like Lin Yuan could bring a bright future to the Zhang clan. While Zhang Tong was thinking, Lin Yuan said, "Class 3 creation masters aren't very useful to me. Compared to your Zhang clan's strength, I value Nanmu City more." Zhang Tong's expression froze when he heard Lin Yuan's words. Zhang Tong's expression froze when he heard Lin Yuan's words. Zhang Tong knew that Lin Yuan was expressing his stance. After clearly telling him that the Zhang clan's creation master resources weren't attractive, he also expressed what he really needed. Zhang Tong immediately said, "The Zhang clan is the strongest in Nanmu City. The 4 Class 2 creation master clans can only rely on our Zhang clan. The Zhang clan is the strongest in Nanmu City, and the 4 Class 2 creation master clans can only rely on our Zhang clan. To be honest, young Master Lin, our Zhang clan plans to clean up Nanmu City's resources next month and annex those Class 2 creation master clans. The Huang clan and our Zhang clan are in-laws and they have long been on the same side as us. The Meng clan, Li clan and Luo clan were originally targets to be cleaned up. The Luo clan's Luo Ye is on good terms with you, so our Zhang clan will definitely treat the Luo clan well." Zhang Tong wanted to continue but was interrupted by Ji Feng, who was standing beside Lin Yuan. "Your Zhang clan's advantage is nothing in our young master's eyes. Since you know our young master is on good terms with the Luo clan, why do you think our young master will cooperate with your Zhang clan and not support the Luo clan? If our young master wishes for it, the Luo family's family head, Luo Da, will be able to obtain a pinnacle diamond fei tonight. He will be able to compete with your Zhang family's platinum/fantasy breed corrosive venomous snake flood dragon. Even if the Luo family has another Class 4 creation master, it will be a small matter for our young master. Your Zhang family chose to annex those Class 2 creation master clans for the sake of loyalty and didn't work together with them. As the young master of the Zhang family, I think you should be very clear about what our young master wants." Zhang Tong was so shocked by Ji Feng's words that he was momentarily speechless. Zhang Tong believed that Road would obtain a pinnacle diamond fei tonight. It was truly shocking that Lin Yuan could allow a Class 4 creation master to oversee the Luo family. Class 4 creation masters were all influential figures at the top of the clouds. When did Class 4 creation masters become so cheap? Zhang Tong glanced at his father, who was currently conversing with Jian Li, and gritted his teeth as he made up his mind. He spoke to Lin Yuan with a sincere tone. "Young Master Lin, before the banquet, father told me that I can make decisions on behalf of the Zhang family. My Zhang family is willing to submit to you." Just as Zhang Tong finished speaking, Luo Ye, who had been secretly watching Lin Yuan, walked over with a wine glass and said softly to Lin Yuan, "Lin Yuan, if you trust me, I can help you look after the Zhang family. Lin Yuan, if you trust me, I can help you look after the Zhang family." Lin Yuan had heard Luo Ye introduce the factions in Nanmu City. However, only the Zhang family, Huang family and Luo family were participating in tonight's banquet. It turned out that the Zhang family was planning to make a move on the other 2 families and had already excluded them from Nanmu City's influence. Lin Yuan trusted Luo Ye, so he asked her to represent the Luo family to look after the Zhang family. With the 2 families supervising and restraining each other, Lin Yuan could easily control Nanmu City. Lin Yuan tossed the pair of bronze/epic walnuts to Luo Ye and Zhang Tong respectively. Luo Ye and Zhang Tong were overjoyed when they received the walnuts. However, the 2 of them were overjoyed for different reasons. They weren't overjoyed because of the value of the bronze/epic walnuts. Zhang Tong was happy that Lin Yuan had accepted the Zhang family. The Zhang family would soar in the future. On the other hand, Luo Ye was happy that she had finally touched something that Lin Yuan's palm had touched. No matter what happened in the future, Luo Ye would treasure this walnut for the rest of her life. Lin Yuan said softly as he looked at Zhang Tong and Luo Ye. "After the 2 of you clean up Nanmu City, I will make a pair of walnuts for the 2 of you. In the future, I will think of a way to have the Chamber of Commerce establish a branch in Nanmu City. For now, all you need to do is develop as before." After saying that, he turned around and left the banquet with Lu Jie and Maple. Looking at the night sky, Lin Yuan revealed a smile. From now on, Nanmu City would be under his control. Ji Feng, who had just returned to the treehouse, had a glint in his eyes. He said to Lin Yuan, "Don't worry. Young master, I found the person you asked me to find, Ling Lian. According to your instructions, after Ling Lian found her, she has been secretly observing her and has not made any contact with her. Right now, she's eating the rotten fruit that she found in the trash can. There are many abrasions on her body and one of her legs seems to be broken. In just an hour, the injury to her soul has acted up twice." Speaking up to this point, Ji Feng thought of himself. Could be said that this person was in the same situation as him. However, his situation in the Divine Wood Federation was much better than that of the woman who was struggling to survive in the Divine Wood Federation. Lin Yuan had expected Su Yiren to be in such a miserable state. The lives of ordinary people in the Shenmue Federation were already so difficult, let alone a scavenger like Su Yiren. After sleeping tonight, he planned to head to Oak City the next morning. Since Ji Feng's water lily had already found Su Yiren, there was no need for him to call her. Tomorrow Lin Yuan would meet with the current Dark Envoy and experience the elegance of the current Dark Envoy. In the tree house, Lin Yuan felt very comfortable at first. But late at night, because the plants would breathe out water vapor, the tree house slowly became damp. Lin Yuan had no choice but to release Bai Lan and let her control the water vapor. Only then did the inside of the tree house become dry again. After sleeping in the tree house once, Lin Yuan expressed that he did not want to sleep there a second time. The next morning, after eating breakfast prepared by Lu Jie, Lin Yuan, Lu Jie and Ji Feng were ready to embark on the journey to Oak City. However, Lin Yuan did not summon Blackie this time. Instead, he let Lu Jie and Ji Feng enter the treasure cave golden cicada's skin and stomach pouch. The hurricane owlet moths that Lu Jie had let the insect queen produce had already carefully arranged the ethereal jellyfish's tentacles on the road from Nanma City to Oak City. These tentacles would automatically form tentacle nodes, and Lin Yuan only needed to use the node teleportation ability. He would be able to go back and forth between Nanma City and Oak City in a short time. ABC that you're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.